hopefully that is in frame. Hey guys, this is TruePowerIsMine. This is a special report. I want to welcome you all to the show. Thank you so much, everybody. Today we have two very special guests, legends, dare I say, in the surfing community. All right, we have Rhonda, Rokki, Harper, and we also have Michael Brown Parlor. All right, so we got them. First off, Rhonda, I just want to say she is the founder of Black Girl Surf, also African Surf International CEO. Also, she is a certified surfing judge. She is a coach. She is a wonderful human being. I've been checking out some of her videos. And Mr. Michael Brown Parlor, for all that who don't know, he has been a professional in many things, but right now in this capacity, he is just a beach bum that teaches girls how to surf. So,
thanks a lot there, you know. First of all, I don't teach anybody how to surf. As Rhonda, I'm a surf judge. And as Rhonda, I'm a surf coach.
Yes. And he is. And I'm going to flash a picture of him so we can show him on the screen here. That's who we're talking about. The younger picture of you, they're probably like 28.
I was born a poor white boy.
No, you didn't. He was born. Okay. We gotta get this thing started right. Rhonda,
we know fellas folks can't swim, much less
before the show started, a viewer reached out to me, and she asked me, "Is there any way she can send donations to help out your organization?" And I promised her I would ask you rather, that question right out the gate.
Okay, so if you want to help push these girls further, you can catch us at GoFundMe / Black Girl Surf. Or Facebook has a fundraiser that's going on right now currently. So either one of the two fundraisers, you can catch Black Girl Surf. And you can always send us money through. We have a donation through PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo.
Awesome. So, Mr. Parlor, do you have anything to add to that? I don't want you to be left out of this, excluded out of the conversation.
Are there any African female surfers?
Yes. Are there? And that is a great question.
Indigenous surfers, there's probably, in pro surfing, there's 4.
Just 4?
That are indigenous. That would be Sam Keeley, Ni Makubu, Haju, Sam, and Kiaditu Kamara in Sierra Leone. Those are the 4 that we know of.
Wow.
Are any of them looking for citizenship and would be willing to marry an old black man?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't know.
On a serious note, where were these girls discovered? How were they even brought out of the light?
Well, I did that. So Africa Surf International was holding a contest in Sierra Leone in 2014 before the Ebola crisis happened. And when we were looking for someone to surf against KK, which is Kadisu Kamara, she's from Sierra Leone. She's the first and only in her country. And so we had to go look for participants to just surf in her heat. All we wanted was one single one that we could, just run a small limit contest, not even a big one. And we found that we couldn't find any girls. And subsequently, we found Haji in Senegal, but that was the only one. And then we found Shani Makubu, but Shani at the time was probably no more than 10 or 11 at the time. I mean, she's now surfing in the WSL. And then Sam Keeley was fresh, and she was just now going into her training. So those two were the 2 that we had the exclusive was down to Haji and KK, who are now teammates. And that's how we formed Black Girl Surf, because when we found that we could only find 4 black Afro, I'm going to say Afro because, we span Afro-Latina, we're everywhere, Afro-Asian, wherever we are, we can only find 4 at a time. So I wanted to expand that to find other Afro girls so that we could have participation, in numbers in some of these contests that we were holding.
Now, one of the things I wanted to clarify what Rhonda said is she just used the term WSL. For those out there who may not be familiar with the surfing community, up until about 4 years ago, the premier organization for professional surfers was the Association of Surfing Professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But that organization was renamed the World Surf League. So when Rhonda is saying WSL, that stands for the World Surf League. Now, both Rhonda and I are qualified judges. In fact, it's funny, Rhonda, today is my expiration of my International Surfing Association.
I'm coming up on mine, too.
Yeah, so the International Surfing Association, both Rhonda and I are heavily involved with, and the reason we really like participating in those organizations is because it brings surfers from around the world together, many of them from countries that the average U.S. citizen has no idea. We're not worried about politics and all the drama that goes on in the world. We just recently had the International Surfing Association's World Junior Championships held at Huntington Beach. Rhonda was there. I was there. We had 44 countries there with more than 400 surfers. Now, when Rhonda was specifically citing the 4 young ladies earlier, now she's talking about on the continent of Africa. However, we do also have Afro surfers, including Afro female surfers, in South America.
Oh, yeah.
So many of the times when we have contests here in the U.S., I work with folks who come here from other countries. So like at the ISA Junior Games we just had at Huntington Beach, I was there primarily with Team France and Team Peru. But I also assisted Team Panama, Team Puerto Rico, Team Russia, and some of the other surfers there. Because sadly, the junior surfers, many of them didn't actually have primary coaches with them. Because in 2020, the Olympics will be holding surfing as a contest, as a competitive sport for the first time. And there are many people right now who are hoping to hone their skills prior to the 2020 Olympics. Now, one of the biggest contests we have, especially, it is the biggest contest for women. An all-women surf contest is held every year. Because I know earlier, sir, you mentioned Oceanside.
Yes.
But each year in Oceanside, California, the last week of July, normally these days, we have what's called the Paul Mitchell Supergirl Pro. And in that contest, we have 125 of the top female surfers from around the world. And I love that contest because it's all women. But that's my only opportunity oftentimes to meet young ladies from places like Peru, Brazil, Chile, of course, Costa Rica, a lot of the smaller countries that oftentimes we don't think about. And then the recent games that we had at Huntington Beach, Guam was represented. Unfortunately, they only had one female. Nicaragua was represented. The entire team was consisted of 3 females, all from the same family who I'm familiar with. So I know it's kind of tough because Rhonda has been doing this for so long that sometimes I have to remind her with the audience that you may not be familiar with this, but Rhonda is underselling herself. Rhonda, she spent time in her childhood in Hawaii. And also Rhonda served in the United States Coast Guard. Now, because I served in the United States Marine Corps. And Rhonda has a lot of experience when it comes to the water. But more importantly, folks, the reason I asked Rhonda to join me on this show today is Rhonda is one of the few people out there that I can honestly say is making a difference for both women and people of color within the surfing community.
Well, I thank you. It's weird. It feels weird. It's something that I just get up and do every day. It's not something like I have a plan that I have a vision, and then I just figure out how to get to those goals. And a lot of times I can't look back and see what I've accomplished, but there's a lot of people that remind me. When I hear people like Michael Brown, Parlor, it humbles me because I don't really look at things the way that he does. I look at them just as this needs to get done, and it needs to get done now. I can't see us going into the Olympics with no Afro athletes at all. And I don't mean the hand-picked ones like, Michael February or somebody like that. I mean the ones that really do belong there being, training for years at a time and finding the right coaching staff and those people pushing them to be excellent athletes and excellent people at the same time. So when I look back at all the things that I've done before, it just seems like the things that I had to do to get to this place where I could have a voice and say, this is not right, this is right, and let's do this in the future. So I get humbled. Thank you, Michael. And yeah, I do know a lot of stuff about the water. Sometimes, unfortunately, but yeah, I do. I'm a water girl by nature, so that's me in a nutshell.
And I want to thank the other morning show for allowing us to come on today, because sadly, there aren't many media outlets, and I'm very disappointed within the surfing community, because there's lots of different websites and magazines within the surfing community. They don't cover African Americans. They don't cover black surfers. They don't cover surfers of color. Most times they don't even cover women. Now this year, for the first time, the World Surf League has deemed that women will be making the same money as the men. However, those are only the women on the tour. That doesn't include all the other surfers who are still what we consider in the qualifying series that are trying to make it to the tour. So we've come a long way, but we've got such a long way to go. And just to give you an idea of my background, I drowned when I was 13 years old. Because I grew up as a young child in Johns Island, South Carolina, rural, segregated, and blacks couldn't go to the beach. There were no pools for us. And when I went to live in Quantico, Virginia, all of a sudden I'm with all these white children on the Marine Corps base, and they all jumped in the pool, and like an idiot, I jumped right in with them, except I didn't know how to swim. And I had that out-of-body experience. I saw myself drowning. But after that experience, I began going to that pool every day, and the Marines taught me how to swim, and I ended up becoming addicted to the water. Now, returning back to South Carolina off the base in the mid-'70s, still, as far as the public beaches in South Carolina go, blacks weren't really allowed to go to the beach. I couldn't go to a beach in South Carolina until 1975. And I entered the College of Charleston in 77. And then in 1978, I was a member of both my college's sailing club team as well as the surf club team. And then later on, I became a head lifeguard at the school. And from what I understand, I've been the first and only black member of that College of Charleston sailing team ever. And as far as surfing goes, even though I don't really count it, I've been told now in recent years by many whites that historically it seems I may be the first black ever surfer from the state of South Carolina.
Wow. That's impressive. I mean, because when you think about it, to add to the whole image of the surfing, the reason why I believe no one really was looking at surfing, like when I was coming up in the 80s or whatever, it's like in those beach blanket bingo movies back in the 50s and 60s and stuff, you never saw black people in it. You always saw that chick.
Wait. There was. Stevie Wonder was in one.
Really?
Stevie Wonder made his movie debut in one of the beach blanket bingo movies, Sing a Happy Day. That's how I started paying attention to the beach blanket bingo movies, because I saw Stevie in it. I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be something. It's got to be something great. This got to be, so Stevie was like a powerhouse in the 70s. So when you see him as a little kid performing on one of those beach blanket movies, you're just like, oh yeah, I can do that too. That's exactly where the inspiration for everything that I do came from.
Really?
That's hilarious, because here in LA, I appeared for many years with Carl Nelson on Stevie Wonder's radio station on Front Page.
Yes.
And I'm going to give Stevie a hard time about that one, because Rhonda, you just taught me. I didn't know that connection with Stevie and the surfing community.
Yeah. That's a song called Happy Day. And
it's funny because Stevie Wonder, Dick Gregory and I used to come over with Carl, and Dick Gregory passed on last year, but it was Dick Gregory who really, in the last few years, inspired me to keep doing what I'm doing, because he loved the idea of me stirring the pot. Of course, nobody stirs the pot in the community more than Rhonda does, but he loved me stirring the pot, because it's sad, because when we go to the contest, even the date, except when Rhonda showed up at that contest, had it not been for the fact that we had surfers from around the world there, Rhonda and I would have been the only people of color at that contest.
Wow.
And normally when I'm at a surf contest, as far as coaching goes, I'm always the only black surf coach there.
Sure.
I'm usually a fly in a bowl of milk on the beach, and this is out here in Southern California, so you can imagine what it's like. But brother, when you mentioned the thing about the beach blank bingo, okay, surfing is one of the last bastions of white supremacy. The only thing they have left to hold on to is sailing and surfing. And what they purposely do is make it so bloody expensive. The average white can't participate in surfing if they want to really be into surfing unless they have money.
Right. And I was just about to ask
and it's expensive to travel around the world. I know, because both Rhonda and I, something else we didn't tell you, we sponsor surfers.
Yeah, we do.
Isn't that the biggest heart?
I've been sponsoring surfers for like since 2002.
And I began in 2008.
So you're taking
in fact, just last week, I had to wire some money to another country because there's one young lady who's trying to make it to the tour. I had to help her with the insurance money. She needed to be a qualifying competitor in the World Surf.
So exactly how much money does the basic kit take? You know, your wetsuit, the board, the wax. How much money are we talking about?
Competition-wise?
No, just beginner.
Thousands. If you're just a regular person, you can go get a cocktail board for like $99. You can get like a 3-2 wetsuit depending on where you live for maybe like $150, $200. Maybe you can get you get it secondhand. Maybe like $25. If you're in cold water, boots and gloves, they're like $15, $20 used. So it depends on how you want to surf. Now, competition-wise, we're running into thousands of dollars because you need boards like 5 in your quiver at least to start off with. And those boards can run like anywhere from $600, $1,200 depending on your shaper. And then, of course, like competition wetsuits are a little bit different construction than the normal, recreational ones. So those can run you anywhere from $400 to a couple of $1,000 depending on if you get like a heat insulated jacket that goes on the inside of some of these wetsuits. And then, your travel, the equipment charge is like a nominal investment. It's the fees and the travel that get you caught up. Is the traveling wherever you go. Like we just said, Black Girl Surf helped sponsor me to go to the Canary Islands this weekend and go surf. And I think her costs were somewhere like $5,000. This is each. I've just been here in the United States for 6 months and it's been well over $10,000. So the initial value, just for a pro surfer, I would chalk in no less than $50,000 a year. Some company has got to sponsor that athlete for an entire season. Otherwise, they miss their chance of going into the championship tournament, which is a championship tour. You have the qualifying series and then the championship tour. And now with the ISA, you have that tour as well.
Yeah, because when you're talking transportation, you're talking about many times, like Rhonda was saying, Canary Islands, a lot of times, unlike here in the U.S., where all of our contests are held onshore, a lot of these contests, you have to travel in the water to another destination to get to that certain location. And many times the contest itself is not actually held on a beach, as it is here on the East Coast and on the West Coast. And then you got the hotel fees. Then you got people who, don't forget to travel, airplanes and everything else. And then, of course, you got the locals who many times rip them off, steal everything. So there's a lot hidden cost that goes into surfing. And it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. And so sailing, that's because basically you have to be a member of some exclusive yacht club to really be in sailing. So sailing is still that community that's kind of basically still a all white boy, good old boy club kind of thing. And surfing is trying to hang on to it. And I have my mixed feelings about it, but I'll have to say Kelly Slater is a very smart individual. And Kelly began working a couple of years ago on his surf ranch, which is up here in Central California, which is not even near the ocean. And I have mixed feelings about it because, I'm old school. We learned how to surf in the ocean. But I told him, I said, now that Kelly has his surf ranch and people are going to start building similar facilities, you may very well see the world champion being a black surfer who's never been to the ocean, who grew up in the inner city, but has been surfing all these indoor surf ranches.
Wow. That's what.
And I have to say this too. One of the things that frustrates me as far as the media coverage. Now, we just recently had 2 young ladies who did extremely well in the Olympics down in Brazil in swimming. And how did the media make sure that was eliminated? They started covering the white boys down there acting a fool that got arrested down there. So all of a sudden, all the media attention that should have deservedly been given to 2 young ladies of color who performed extremely well representing this country in the Olympics in Brazil. Nobody was talking about them anymore because now they were talking about two white boys that were acting a fool down there and got arrested.
Diversion.
It definitely didn't mention that Susan Narisa was carrying the Olympic torch. Now, if you want, there's the story right there. You know, we missed that. We weren't worried about Ryan Lochte, but we were paying attention to Susan Narisa, who was actually carrying the Olympic torch, who's a Brazilian surf legend. And it just overlooked by the surf media itself. I was just talking to a filmmaker right before I got on with you, and we were talking, and I was telling her about this, and she was like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Not even Kelly Slater has, carried the Olympic torch here. We're talking about a black female in surfing that carried the Olympic torch, and nowhere in the surf media do you see that." Anali Gomez, another one, just won her first big QS event. You don't see it nowhere in the surf media, and that's why I decided that right now, for me, it's time to cut off the surf media and go straight to my people. Yes. I'm like, I don't want to keep trying to beat a dead horse when there's no reason to keep beating this dead horse. I mean, they've known I've been here for 15 years. I have not changed my voice. It has not lowered. I still speak in the same vernacular that I started out with. I've been, unbossed and unbought for 15 years. And now they want to listen, but still they want to control even the narrative that I'm bringing. So it's time for me to go back to my people and say, listen, Ebony, Jet, Essence, I know y'all were picked up by Viacom or whoever, but these are the stories that should be told to African Americans and just Afro people around the world. And we shouldn't be stuck behind surf media as the only outlet for what's going on in our community, because our history has never been their history. So why are we stuck here? And I'm right now stuck in the surf media.
Too strong, too black.
Hey, I got a good question for you guys. How do you feel about...
Having heard what Rhonda just said, this is the frustrating thing, okay? I'll give you a good example. I mentioned the Paul Mitchell Supergirl Pro. This year, I coached 7 different young ladies at that contest from different countries, including the United States. For the past 9 years, I have been coaching women at that contest. So over the past 9 years, there's some of the girls I have coached over, repeatedly because they returned. But in the last 9 years, I have personally coached 45 different females who have participated in the Paul Mitchell Supergirl Pro. And yet I can walk on that beach and the announcer will never even acknowledge my presence at that contest. Rhonda posted a photograph recently on Facebook of her at that contest. And the only reason there's a photograph of her because somebody was taking a surfing photograph of Nikki Van Dyke from Australia, and you can see Rhonda in the background up on the Oceanside Pier. Okay. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I get these guys who come down on the beach who do nothing but grab ass and basically have ulterior motives when they're down on the beach. And these announcers are, "Oh, look who's here on the beach today." Now, I'm not there for any self-aggrandizement, but I see it as a disrespect when they can take the time to acknowledge people who aren't really supporting the women in surfing. And myself, everything I have done in surfing since I quit LAPD back in 2008, I do at my own expense. I don't charge these women a dime to coach them. In fact, I go out of my way to coach young ladies who have no sponsors, have no coaches, have very little money, and a lot of times they're not recognized. And I'm not, putting myself on any pedestal here, but I'm just going to call a spade a spade. You got one young lady, her name's Izzy Gomez from Florida. Her family couldn't care less that I happen to be a colored boy. And I coached Izzy to 2 world championships in stand-up paddle. Izzy has now returned back to shortboarding, so now she's doing the QS again, so I hope she does well this year coming up. And there's a young lady, Martha Carr from France. The first time women were allowed to surf in the Shoe City Pro at Huntington Beach, I coached her, and she won it. She not only won that contest, she not only had the 2 highest score among the women, she had the 2 highest scores of everybody in that contest, because there are also men included in that contest, including guys who were former members on tour. So what I'm saying to you is, I don't ask for anybody to kiss my ass, and I don't ask anybody to be my friend. All I ask for, and I know Rhonda demands it, we don't compromise our integrity, and all we ask for is just the same respect they're giving all these other folks. Now, right before we came on the show, I had a little conversation with Rhonda because we just had what was called the World Surfing League Surfers Poll. And the top female that they named in the surfer poll is a woman named Alana Blanchard. I know Alana. Alana, for those who are not familiar, if you ever saw the movie Soul Surfer about Bethany Hamilton losing her arm, Alana Blanchard was her best friend in that movie. And I know Alana, and I love Alana. Alana's a really sweet young lady. But Alana doesn't compete very much. And Alana, even when she does compete, she doesn't really fare that well as far as the final outcome of the contest. But Alana is known for having one of the greatest asses in surfing. And that's what they look for. Meanwhile, on the men's side of the house, now, of course, he didn't make it number one, thank goodness, but he was in the top 10, was Andy Irons. I knew Andy. In fact, I took some of the last photographs of Andy before he died. And Andy has been dead now for several years, and he's in the top 10 for the surface poll. Now, I'm not even going to waste my time telling you, of course, there were no people of color in either one of those polls on the men's side or the women's side. But I'm just saying, it just amazes me, that mindset of these people. Now, and I'm going to let Rhonda say this one, because I'm going to give Rhonda the honor of doing this, since Rhonda did live in Hawaii, even though I did Marine Corps training in Hawaii. I never actually lived there. And Rhonda would know a little bit more about him personally than I do. But Rhonda, please just share a brief history about a guy we know called Button.
Oh, man. Uncle Button. Gotta love Uncle Button. Uncle Button changed the face of surfing as it is today. If there wasn't a Button, we'd still be on longboards trying to figure out how to get down the line. Button is the one that started doing the radical movements, the cutbacks, the airs, the 360s. That was Button. He started all that. The man was crazy. The thing about Buttons is, and the reason why the black community doesn't know about Buttons is because the surf industry has a very keen ability to erase your racial background. So if you ever look at Button's case, CEO Alani, you will see that he is Hawaiian and the son of a serviceman. Now, I don't know what U.S. census we have that says U.S. served. Where is the actual race? They have completely erased that man's blackness by adding in a U.S. serviceman. They didn't say he was black. So Button, and that's a way of them erasing us as central figures in surfing, right? I met Button when I was 15 in Hawaii, and the only reason why I went up to him, I didn't even know who he is. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff other than what I saw in the surf magazines. He didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes at the time I rolled up on Sunset Beach as a 15-year-old kid just jumping off the bus. And seeing this guy with this huge afro sitting on one of the cars there. And I thought he was cool, and he called me sister, so I went over and I started talking to him as a 15-year-old kid. Then watched him go jump in the water. Now, that was my first encounter with Buttons, and he was amazing in the water. And I subsequently met him again in 2007 when we launched at the AFR show, which was Equal Surf lifestyle brand. We did that at the AFR show in 2007. I saw him. He was already on drugs. They had already taken Buttons from who he was, and he sucked all the life out of him. Next time I saw Buttons, we were on the same surf team, and I was doing a 24-hour surf song down in Huntington Beach. Amongst like a crowd of 10,000 people, and there is a sister up in the judges' booth commentating on waves, which is absolutely unheard of. They had no idea that a black girl had been paying attention to surfing the way I had been playing, that I had been, studying it. So when I got up there, I was able to just go right into it. They didn't even want me to come out the booth to go surf my heat. And I had the privilege of, before he died, being on Button's surf team. So as a female, as an athlete, and as a surfer, you can't get a higher honor than to move through life. Right. Seeing somebody that you don't even know is your hero, ends up being your hero, and then being on their surf team at the same time, or being able to call their heat, because they had what I call is the black heat, and it's all like black. It was Button. It was a guy named Preston Davis, who's an actor. It was, I think, Sue Yin was on our team. There was a few, black, but that was the only black team on the, out of the entire contest, which was kind of odd. But at first I was, I was insulted at first. And then I thought, well, to take this opportunity, this piece of history, and this part of it to say, this is the platform that we need for ourselves. And subsequently, you get the ASI, or the African Surf International, coming from what I did down at Huntington Beach. It was just a catalyst. And listening to them in the booth and knowing that all your surf heroes are a bunch of racists, if you hearing it firsthand and they thinking you just some dumb kid, they don't know that you've already studied their rules and regulations to go on and do something better. and you get to hear it all firsthand, that you know exactly which road you need to go to. So in my experience in dealing with the surf industry, it's better for us to just go get that education, come back and prove to them, hey, we know what we're doing. Right. Michael has been on the beach for years. I mean, I finally was able to get him, closer to myself. But he's been on the beach for years doing things that it's unimaginable for a black man. I know a lot of black men that are surfers. I've never seen one take the initiative that Michael Brown Parlor has to even coach girls. The coaching staff for the girls side is almost nil. So for him to not only coach them, but to pay and sponsor some of this stuff for them is amazing. And I'm glad that, now he's on my side of the fence and he can help me get some.
Where the white women at?
He's still talking this, and I keep telling him they're in a closet somewhere.
Now check this out, listeners. For you listeners out there, seriously, when you got some time, want to do some research, just type in the name Buttons and just put surfer behind it, and you will come up with troves of information about a brother you probably never heard of. Now, back in the 70s, I started surfing in 1976. What happened? I was living in Beaufort, South Carolina. I just graduated high school, and my family was stationed down at Beaufort Air Station and also Paris Island. So I was living down in Beaufort, and this old white guy had just come back from California, burned out, druggy hippie, and he was so broke he was selling his surfboard. So I bought my first surfboard, which was a plastic, fantastic surfboard. And then when I went to Charleston, of course, Folly Beach was the beach with the best waves, but oh my God, blacks didn't go to Folly Beach. And in fact, when I was growing up, we couldn't go to the beach. We used to go to a place called Mosquito Beach, which wasn't even a beach. It was a swamp, marshland that had a bunch of juke joints in it. And still one of the most violent areas in Charleston, South Carolina, but it was not the beach. And I ended up going to the Isle of Palms, which was across the east of the Cooper River in the Charleston County area. And over in Isle of Palms, the people there were more educated, more affluent, and I didn't have any problems at the Isle of Palms. So often I would end up surfing alone at the Isle of Palms where the waves were much smaller, but I didn't have to deal with the hardcore racism of Folly Beach. And I say that to you because one day I was out surfing. Yeah, I'll share this funny story with you. There was a guy, a professional surfer. He was in Puerto Rico at the time, and I was with his brother at Isle of Palm, and I didn't know it, but his girlfriend decided to introduce me to hash brownies. And I didn't know it. And I'm out in the water surfing, and when I got out the water, all these white folks come running up to me on the beach asking for my autograph. And I'm like, what the hell? And they all thought I was Buttons. Because my hair was, I had the afro and everything, and also being out in the sun all the time, my hair had turned like reddish brown kind of thing. And it looked a lot like Buttons, and I'm like, Buttons? I go, gee, I wish I had 1/10 of jeans of Buttons to be surfing. But what I didn't realize is, apparently having eaten those hash brownies, I was surfing like a professional surfer. And I was upset about that whole deal because less than a week later, I was heading off for officer school, and I just knew my urinalysis was going to come up positive for something I never intended on doing and didn't do intentionally, but somebody had spiked my food.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this to you because Buttons was such a phenomenal surfer that he normally lost surf contests. Why did he lose? His maneuvers were so radical and so far ahead of their time that judges didn't know how to score him.
Nope.
And so they would underscore him. The things you see white surfers taking credit for today, Buttons was doing back in the 1970s.
Wow.
And fortunately, there are a few videos you will be able to find online of Buttons actually surfing. And when you look at what he was doing back in the 70s, what you see some of these guys doing today where they get a 10 or a high 9 pales into comparison to what Buttons was doing in free surf. And Buttons, sadly, as Rhonda was alluding to earlier, they take him under their wing. They try to keep him away from his African heritage. And sadly, for a while there, Buttons didn't know he was black either. Until he did so well on the professional tour that he was invited to South Africa to surf over there with the fellow Hawaiians and other people in the contest and realized, you bloody keffer, you ain't staying in no hotel here. that was the first time Buttons had to slap in the face hard reality that, hey, you're a nigga. And so when he was in South Africa, he wasn't allowed to stay in the hotel there because at the time apartheid was still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a wake-up call for him. And I have to tell you, I know Rhonda threw a name out there, I'm not going to repeat it, but I'll just say, sadly, the few people of color we do have in surfing, many times they're not conscious individuals when it comes to what's really going on or who they really are.
Wow.
And how they're being used and manipulated. So I guess the most, and I'm not going to speak for Rhonda here, Rhonda can speak for herself, but I think I am speaking for Rhonda when I state one of the most frustrating things for both Ron and myself when we are trying to help, because we don't just help black surfers or brown surfers. I coach anybody who is willing to listen and learn. But what I'm saying is it's really sad when the sacrifices that Rhonda and I have made and the obstacles we have incurred along the way by those who are trying to help us fail, to see folks who look as we do, who go out there doing stupid things, acting whiter than the white man.
Oh, yeah. And it's a sad shame. It is, because you invest a lot. There's a lot of times that you invest in people and you don't really know them. And the thing that I've learned over the years, especially when I was dealing with the boys, is that you have to know where they want to go before you even start investing. Like, I didn't realize with a lot of the boys when they first started out, and I had the younger crowd at the time, they all wanted to be like Kelly Slater. And you can't be like Kelly Slater when you're an African-American male or you're a Jamaican male. And right now we got Trayvon Martin shootings and Mike Brown shootings. And you can't act like that on the beach. You can't go out there and just grab your white girl out there on the street and think you're going to get full sponsorship or any type of sponsorship, because that racism is still there. These guys want to go and party and be, hang out and be surf books and all that. Well, you have to look at it as a business. Your image is what sells you. And if you're out here trying to be like them, when you're being seen in a negative light already, then that's a double negative for you. So you really not about your business.
However, Rhonda, hold on, Rhonda.
Oh, what's that?
Now, our host here is not familiar, so please enlighten the host and the listeners to whom Kelly Slater is.
Okay, so Kelly Slater is, I'm not going to compare him to, okay, let me just give Kelly where he's at. Kelly is the greatest professional surfer in the world.
Ever.
I'm going to say competition-wise, he has the most wins. There are guys out here that don't want to be filmed, who don't want to be in competition, who are just as good or better. But Kelly has been documented and recorded as the greatest surfer on the planet. And that's who he is, and that's how they market him. So, and he has this kind of, when he started out, he had this kind of like beachboard cavalier. He was on Baywatch for a couple seasons or whatever. He has that, even though, he's one of those cats that is Syrian, right? But he cut his hair off so you can't see his dark hair, but he's Syrian, but this is the greatest white boy ever, hit the water on a board. So that's
with the Dalai Lama.
with the Dalai Lama on the one side and getting arrested on the other side, putting, prayers in the wall over there, in Jerusalem. But either way you go, it's Kelly Slater is the man, supposedly. That's your marketing, that's all of your products, that's everything. It's all behind Kelly Slater. So these kids want to be this guy, and not understanding that this guy was created by companies, by product companies, so that they could promote a product. And once he left, those companies subsequently started to tank out. And the stock market, it started to reflect the fact that Kelly is no longer involved in these companies. So this is all a marketing deal. It's about it's kind of like Atlanta on the winning the popularity contest of the Surfer Bowl Awards, and she hasn't really been on tour, but yet she's the one that's selling all the products. She's the one selling the Brazilian cut booty shorts. So you can't kind of erase her status for, I guess. I don't know.
Rhonda just said, what Rhonda says is important, because what Rhonda is really saying, because, I got to do some ebonics here and translate. What Rhonda is saying is for many years, Kelly was molded and made by the surfing industry to sell products. Now that Kelly is in a position where he can be his own man and he calls the shots, they can't manipulate and use him anymore the way they used to. And that's when the surfing economics started really going into a tailspin. However, In spite of the fact of being considered the greatest ever professional surfer a few years ago, I think about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the Surf Channel became the first all surfing network in the United States. To make themselves a household name, they did an expose on Kelly Slater to get, people to view them on the internet or whatever. 3 weeks later, they do an interview on myself. Guess which one got more hits? Because they're like, wait a minute, niggas can't surf.
Exactly.
These people were so shocked when they started reading the Surf Channel about some Negro who could, what? That Kelly Slater, the greatest ever surfer, the Surf Channel contacted me and couldn't believe for several weeks. The hits just kept coming in on the piece they did on me. And going to Alana Blanchard, I am personally working with a young lady. Her name is Tessa Tyson if you're in Europe, but over here, we English people, Americans, Tessa Tyson. Now, she's from St. Bart. She's a French surfer. She won the World Championship in 2015 down at Oceanside at the International Surfing Junior World Championship game. And this year, sadly, Tessa lost 2 of her sponsors. Now, because she's from St. Bart, one of her sponsors dropped her because, they had to recover from the devastating hurricane they had down there last year. And that's understandable. But why did her other sponsor drop her?
What?
As Rhonda just said earlier, Alana Blanchard shows her booty and people vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tessa, because Tessa has integrity, her sponsor dropped her and they told her, because you don't show your ass enough.
Wow.
This is 2018, folks. This is the kind of misogyny that is going on in surfing 2018. And I commend Tessa, because Tessa don't put up no crap either. I love her. She just turned 21. So Tessa, she got interviewed by several people over in France, and she told them, I didn't come into surfing to show my ass. I came into surfing to surf. Sadly, because Tessa's so strong and out there, now I can't get a sponsor at all. And please, Rhonda, having said that, I'm opening the door for you to do this one. Please share with the folks about a woman of color from Brazil named Savannah Lima.
Oh, Savannah Lima, man. Now that's what you call a warrior. Savannah Lima been on tour since I was covering the ASP, and that's been a long time. It's been at least she's been in there at least 15, 20 years. I mean, she has just been the ambassador for surfing as far as keeping your strength together. This girl's been sponsored, not sponsored. She was too masculine for a sponsor. She wasn't feminine enough for a sponsor. She'd been taken off her sponsorship. She was doing GoFundMe. She's still right now to this day in the WSL, and she is scraping together her funds each year because she doesn't fit the mold of surfing, but she's a powerhouse in surfing. She's one of the top surfers ever in the world, and she can't get sponsorship full on the way that, apparently Alana Blanchard keeps getting sponsored. This girl is actually a performer. Alana Blanchard is more of to me now, she's more free for recreational, just a prop, where you have this girl who is a powerhouse and a legend in her country, and she can't pick up sponsorship for image. And that is the true problem with the surfing industry, because they don't see your image as a marketable or you're basically a product. You're a product that can't sell.
But she doesn't look like a model, Rhonda.
She doesn't look like a model.
She's not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, big titty girl. Come on. She ain't putting out for the boys. Come on, Rhonda. You got to put out for the boys.
Listen, I used to be a fashion stylist. I could go down there and style Savannah Lima. She looked like she just came from after a party.
Oh, yeah, I think, you know me, I think Savannah's hot. and seriously, folks, because what Ronnie ain't telling you, let me just tell you how bad it is. Okay, Savannah was on tour, didn't make it back on the tour for a while, and worked hard and got back on the tour. Now, the highest score you can get in surfing is a 10. Guess who was the first woman in the world to ever get a 10 in a professional contest? And guess who's done it more than one occasion? Worst, Savannah had to sell her house to be able to afford to go on tour this past year.
Yeah, she did.
There's no government help for any of these ladies?
And now she just made the tour again, and what Rhonda didn't tell you is, how old is Savannah?
Savannah's in her 30s. She's deep in her 30s. Yeah.
There's a girl right now on tour, Caroline Marsh, love her, I know her well. In fact, she's a little Greek girl. I love my little Greek sister. She's half the age of Savannah, and Savannah is whooping these girls' asses, okay?
Yeah, she is. She's killing these girls. She is. She's out there killing it. There's not a girl on tour with a heart like Savannah Lima. I mean, she just, they used to say that about Sophia Milanovic way back in the day, and nothing had pulled off. Savannah had pulled that completely out, and the one that I see, the next Savannah I see is Anali Gomez. That's the one I see next in line. That position, and that girl. I mean, her whole name is La Negra Tombao, the black lady with rhythm. That's a Celia Cruz. That's why I love her so much. When I first saw that, I knew that was her nickname. I was like, yeah, this is my girl, because she does know her history, and she tags us all the time. She's on Black Girl, so we watching her. She just started a coaching academy down there in Peru, but she's a Peruvian legend, and she's black. And it's just funny that you don't see her anywhere in the surf magazines, and that's why I keep telling anyone that's a black surfer, stop going to the surf media. They know you're here. They just don't care. Go around them. If you want to get sponsorship in your country, go to the electric company, go to the power company. Like I was telling people in Sierra Leone, go to the mining company. Ask them if they want, to sponsor. Go to AfriSale. Go to the companies that are outside of the surf industry and ask them, hey, do you want to put a sticker on my board? My board is like a stock car. Your stock car racer. That is your advertisement. For the apparel companies, it would be the bikini or the wetsuit. That's their fashion show. Whoever you sponsor, you're their fashion model. But stop going to the surf industry and ask them for money, because you already know that you're not the image that they want to see. Go break the mold. Go outside. Chris Dennis started it, and I was thanking God that he did it, because he listened. He went and got a power company in Trinidad and Tobago to sponsor some of his events. And that's how you have to do it. Go to a milk company. I don't care who it is. Somebody that doesn't have the typical blonde hair, blue eye imagery, and go to them. Or do like I just did with Haju, took her on. She didn't even know she was being shot. I took a camera down with us when we went to LA 2 weeks ago, and I started shooting her in her bikini without her knowledge. So she.
And you didn't call me?
Uncomfortable. I didn't call anybody. It was just her and I at the shower, and some janitors who couldn't help but smoke a cigarette, act like they smoked a cigarette and watch.
I'd have to smoke a cigarette after that too. They
had no idea that I was taking the shoot to change the imagery that you see from the skinny blonde white girl to this chocolate built, got a 12-pack, new surfer in a bikini in the water. I'm sure you've seen that photo. It's all up over. As soon as I put it up, even Venice Beach, me and Venice, we're not really happy with each other right now. But even Venice Beach, I had to put that photograph of her underneath the shower at the beach. I mean, you just have to I have to do it myself, because the surf industry is not going to change how they feel they're getting the money, even though it's the most ignorant decision. And it's a typical white decision to continue to not sponsor surfers of color, because our buying power is so that we can take over the industry, but they're scared of that. If you come in, you have a whole bunch of black people. Have you ever seen 10 black people standing on the corner? Pretty soon the cop is going to show up for no reason at all. Like, you don't even know. The cop shows up. We're having an event, and all of a sudden he comes to sleep. Like, why? We're just having a beach event. I mean, that's just the way it is. So you have too many black people in the surf industry, everybody's going to get nervous, because everybody knows that we have the Serena, or we have the Tiger Woods, or the Michael Jordan, and we're just waiting on our turn. But I'm not going to wait on another turn. I'm going to go in there and take my shot, because there's nothing saying, hey, you can't be there. It's just us saying, no, we need to be there, and then us pushing forward so that we can be there. If you don't go and take a seat and sit it at the table, they ain't going to invite you. This isn't Thanksgiving. We didn't even get invited to Thanksgiving. It's the Indians. So, I mean, we have to literally go get our seat and put it there at the table and say, here I am. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, Inkwell, Africa Surf International, or Black Girl Surf, is just saying, we're here, and when I'm about to ask you if we can be here, we're just going to take our seat, and that's it.
And that's why Rhonda and I are on this show today, folks. So for all you out there who've been listening, since I guess I got to show a little respect to the office and not the individual. Since the 2016 election, this country has taken so many steps backwards. And since I coach so many young ladies from other countries, the most common question I always hear is, how the hell did y'all let Donald Trump become president? What Rhonda and I are trying to tell you folks out there, all you hear is the negativity. Today, our mission coming on this show is, one, to share some positivity.
Yes.
Two, to share some good news about things that you obviously most likely have never heard about within the Black community. And three, you cannot sit on your asses waiting for somebody out there to come to you like they do other folks. You got to go out there and take it for yourself.
Yes.
In a legitimate manner, in a professional manner, with integrity. But if you keep sitting on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to come to you and treat you the way they do other folks, it's not going to happen, especially the way this country is headed these days. Nobody said to me, hey, go out there and start coaching girls. I went out there and started coaching girls because in 2008, I quit LAPD. I'm standing up on the pier at the U.S. Open, which is the largest professional surf contest on the planet. And I was up on the pier with legends like Michael Ho and some of these other folks. And I look out in the water and I go, damn, half these surfers in the water are sons and daughters of people who I knew growing up. Well, I never grew up. I got older, but I never grew up. But people I knew as I was coming up back in the 70s. But then I saw something that just blew me away. When the male surfers were in the water, the Huntington Beach Pier had as many as 5,000 folks, many of them professional photographers. Then the women came out to surf. The pier was empty. And I'm like, what the hell? So here I go with my little digital camera, cost me less than $300. And I'm the only one up there on the pier taking photographs of some of the most incredible surfers on the planet who happen to be female. And so I started sending the girls these photographs. So it didn't take long for the girls to go, there's actually somebody out there who notices us in the water. Today, I now have access to the biggest name in professional surfing for the women because they know, one, I'm not trying to get in their pants. Two, I have no ulterior motive. Three, I'm there to show agape love, and I generally care about the welfare of women surfing. Now, Stephanie Gilmore just won her 7th world title. She's tied with Lane Beachley, who I also keep in touch with. Lane Beachley and Stephanie both from Australia. I was on the beach with Stephanie back in August of 2018, this past August, because we had the Vans US Open. And I told all these professional photographers, hey, come over here and take a photograph of Stephanie and me. Average person can't just walk up to Stephanie Gilmore and say, hey, come take a photograph of me. So I had them take a photograph of Stephanie and me. And this is what I told Stephanie. I go, Stephanie, listen, you know Courtney Conlog is my girl. Courtney's going to win this contest. You'll come in second. But don't worry, because you're going to win the world title this year. And she looked at me like all and said, you think so, Michael? And she's like, trust me, Stephanie, I'm telling you this, but I ain't going to share this with the world until you do it. So last month, guess what? Stephanie won the world title. So then I posted a photograph of one of the professional photographers took a Stephanie and me together, and I put down everything I said to her that day back in August. Because I always know what's going to happen at the contest. I just don't share with people anymore because they take my information and go and bet online, and I don't like people using my information to make personal gain and make monetary gain. But I say this to you because when it comes to somebody like Stephanie Gilmore, Stephanie is another person now who's been out there in the industry and has seen a lot of changes in the industry. And now that she's got her 7th title under her belt, I foresee Stephanie becoming more like a Kelly Slater and being able to make some positive impact changes within the world of women surfing that she perhaps didn't feel she was able to do in the past because she was still held under that umbrella of sponsorship. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of a Kelly Slater or Stephanie Gilmore to wait until we're in our 30s to do that. For you colored folks out there listening, you have to do it now. You have to take the opportunity to decide what you want to be in life. Like I tell all my female servers, you let no man or woman stand in the way of your dream. Nobody gave me anything. Everything I ever accomplished, there was always somebody out there telling me I wasn't going to make it. Okay? There will always be the people on the sidelines, including some of the closest friends and family members you have, that's going to try to keep you down. You let nobody stand in your way. The things Rhonda's doing, nobody came to her and said, Rhonda, will you please do this? Rhonda went out there and did that on her own. And she's still fighting people in her hometown up there in California and everywhere else she goes around the country and the world. Rhonda went to that International Surfing Association contest where they disrespected her. And guess what? She didn't sit on that beach and continue to be disrespected. She left.
I sure did.
Okay? So she's not going to tolerate. The one thing we don't tolerate, I shouldn't say what, we don't tolerate misogyny, we don't tolerate racism, and we don't tolerate disrespect. Right. And I teach these young girls, unfortunately, most of my young, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but the fact is right now, most of my young ladies are white. And women in surfing are the niggas are surfing. And I remind them that all the time. And I tell them, you don't have to put out to make it in this industry. You go out there in the water and show me how good a surfer you are. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I tell them, you don't let any man or woman stand in the way of your dreams. And it's really sad because some of these young ladies, I just have girls from around the world who contact me every day thanking me for the help that I gave them, or more importantly, their families. Because a lot of their families can't afford to come out here with them. When they go back home, they tell their family about this black guy they met in the United States. And like, oh, you met a Kefir? What? And they're like, Mom, he took care of us down there. He made sure nobody messed with us. Nobody robbed us. And he was the only guy on the beach to make sure that those boys were trying to rape us. And all this stuff. So it's really sad because you folks listening today can sit back and wallow and talk about what Trump is doing to you and what the white man is doing to you and all this other crap. What are you doing for you? What are you doing for the people in your community? Right. What are you doing for your family members? What are you doing to make a change? Because as long as you sit around waiting for somebody else to do it, it's not going to get done. It's time for you to seize the moment. That's why Rhonda and I are here today. Okay, hang on. Let me drop off my soapbox and take another sip of this drink here.
Now I feel like I'm on the show again. One thing I do want to ask you too, on a very serious note, because you guys primarily do your surfing in the Pacific Ocean, what are your thoughts on Fukushima? And will it have any effects on the surfing industry, the radiation that leaked out?
It's already affecting us up here in San Francisco. We've already seen the results of it here on our shores. So I'm not really sure. Michael and I are in two different locations. He's south and I'm north, but I know we're feeling it up here. And it does keep it. I'm always on notice, and I never go out. There's times where I know to go, and there's times that I know not to go.
Right.
When levels are high, I try not to go because I know there are huge storms going on in Japan. We try not to get in the water around that time. I try to keep Haju as in the clean as water as possible. So what I do is try to get her between San Francisco and Santa Cruz. If you can get that water right there in between that, you don't have a bigger problem as you do if you have the actual runoff from the actual cities coming as well. I just like to surf a pure break with no runoff on it. Those are hard to find, but the best way to keep her healthy is to keep her out of the bigger cities like Santa Cruz proper or San Francisco proper. Like I don't take her to underneath Ocean Beach or underneath the Golden Gate Bridge or Presidio, because those are places that I know that they've already had traces of radiation. So there's no need for me to put my athletes in that situation.
Now, Rhonda mentioned Ocean Beach. For the folks who don't realize, that's Ocean Beach up in the Bay Area, because we have an Ocean Beach down here in San Diego County. As far as Fukushima, brother, radiation from Fukushima was in Wisconsin and Minnesota 5 months after the damn nuclear meltdown.
Oh, yeah, in the air.
There were older folks and younger children with immune systems that are compromised that were already getting that radiation because it comes through the atmosphere. As far as in the ocean goes, by the way, it's still leaking. For those folks who don't know that, the company who owns that Fukushima reactor also owns many of the reactors now on the east coast of the United States. So every time we have these devastating storms, hurricanes, flooding, there's a good chance of the same thing happening there, because that's what triggered the leak, was salt water getting into those nuclear reactor in Fukushima. And I saw baby seals out here suffering effects of something, 5 years ago. So that's another reason why I believe Kelly's Surf Ranch is going to be reproduced. And with the Olympics coming up in 2020, Tokyo does not have a good surf break during the summer months to begin with. And with Fukushima and other things pressing on people's mind, I suspect that there's going to be a similar facility as the Kelly Surf Ranch that will probably be used to facilitate the surfing. Because this is the first time it's going to be the Olympics. And it cannot be a failure, because then it may not be have to come back the second year, because it's kind of like on the trial basis for the first year. the smartest thing to do, and the smartest thing marketing. And by the way, Rhonda, National Public Radio just did a little piece on Kelly's surf brand. And of course, guess who they interviewed in that?
Who they interviewed?
Stephanie Gilmore. But you know, Stephanie lives here in Malibu now.
She's going to be listen, Stephanie Gilmore, Happy Gilmore. That's her, tour name.
And so Stephanie,
marketing right there. She's going to always be here.
So Stephanie, basically, she destroyed that ranch when she surfed there. Because when she got on that wave, it was like ideal for her. And some of the things that Stephanie said was basically that's going to be the future of surfing. So,
and that's sad.
That's sad. But when you think about the Fukushima threat, that's going to give them the impetus to create more of those. Now, down here, I'll just ask Rhonda, what is supposedly the greatest break wave in the United States?
The greatest break wave in the United States. That's supposed to be Huntington Beach.
Well, not Huntington, Lourdes.
Oh, yeah, well, Lourdes, trust me.
And yet we have not had a professional surf contest there in over a year.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting down there. They're like, I don't know what they're going to do about that surf contest down there. They're kind of infighting on whether, it's on this land or we're going to put this railroad. And then internally, I don't really think that the WSL has the money that truckers want.
And I don't think that's the issue. Because see, that land is owned by the U.S. Navy. And the U.S. Navy leases that land to them. That's why the Marines are right next door. But I think there's a little bit more to that story. I think they know that San Onofre nuclear power plant is leaking, and they don't want to have any professional contests down there.
That could be it too.
You know what I'm saying?
That's you leave that up to surf fighters. There's so much going on politics-wise in the surf industry. And so I'm already a politician. I'm a commissioner in my city, so I'm real familiar with politics, and surf industry politics are so hand to wallet. It's not even a official. You don't have an official rule. It's always some kind of depending on how much money you got to get you through the day. And that WSL right now is suffering. They're even suffering. They need this Olympic thing. Everybody in the surf industry needs this Olympics to work, and they're going to the extreme to get this thing done. They've done started the tokenism, where we started adding one black kid to a team. So you have to have.
It's true.
It's true.
And I'll tell you this.
It's not just a regular one either. It has to be one that's like ambiguous. Like you can't really tell that it's a black kid. Like it could be something. Your hair kind of person, but you light skin, and it's real. And there's colorism coming in. There's a whole lot of factors that they don't know that I see.
Except for the U.S. The U.S. still going with the blonde hair, blue eyes, Southern California. Yeah, they're not even letting any white folks from the East Coast on the U.S. team.
But
that's perfect. That's on purpose. They're gonna do that tokenism throughout. Spread one throughout one company.
Hey, and then the Hawaiians they put on the team also have to be white girls from Hawaii, or John, a white boy from Hawaii.
Oh yeah, there's no natives. There's somebody named Kalani in the lineup.
Oh hell no!
We go ahead and just pray God. Like if your name is I don't even know some Hawaiian.
The Kalani they were grooming was Kalani David, but that blew up in their face. So now they have to figure out what to do.
And then they lost Kalani Rock to old age. So he's still our ambassador for something. He was just in the momentum game or whatever they call that movie that they had about colonizers taking over the industry and appropriating everything from everybody else. And then Robert Redford decided to produce it. Put it on HBO. It's a laugh. I laughed for like 2 hours that it was on.
So since Rhonda mentioned that, and she's talking about laughing at movies, Rhonda, what about any movies about black surfers like Whitewash?
All of them.
But why don't you tell the listeners about and tell our host about the movie Whitewash?
Whitewash is horrible. It just started off as horrible, and it's always going to be horrible. I don't even know how they collect. And I said this in the beginning because I actually interviewed the guy Ted Woods that made that movie, and I interviewed him before this. And this is what I said to him. I wanted to know the scope of this movie because our history was so new. Like you couldn't focus on black, don't generalize all black surfers within this. And then the original cut of Whitewash was a generalization of black surfers. And every time I would criticize them, they would change the cut of the movie to like fit whatever I was complaining about. There's one particular part in the movie where Kelly Slater is asked, why aren't there any black surfers? Why aren't there any black surfers that go surfing? And Kelly literally is looking around for his publicist to see if he has. You can see the fear on his face. He did not want to answer that question, and the hesitation in that, and the pause, and then for him to come back and say, "I don't know." Kelly Slater is best friends with Sal Masakela. Sal Masakela was a pro surfer on tour.
The son of Hugh Masakela, for you folks.
The son of Hugh Masakela. So he didn't have really problems with the social economics. He was actually standing next to Kelly when all this was going on. He was at Surfing Magazine for years. So for him to say he doesn't know when he's sitting next to not just a regular black guy, I mean, Sal Masakela is like, okay, and what did Sal go on to do? ESPN and X Games and this and that, but you never seen him produce anything for black people in the surf industry. I love Sal. I mean, I appreciate him for doing what he did, but Sal was in a position where he could have pushed more black or had a black presence more in the surf industry, and he chose the latter route.
And just to see how much they love Sal, when Sal was there at the U.S. Open, when it was still a Hurley, well, I think he was Nike by that time, Nike U.S. Open, the only photographs yet that I've seen of Sal during the expression session while he's out in the water surfing are the photographs that I took of him.
Wow.
They didn't even post any photographs of Sal while he's out in the water showing you that black people can surf.
That's all right. I mean, that is not a shocker to me. That's not something I go, oh, wow, I can't believe it. No, that's all right. Because that's who they are as an industry. They want to keep the United States anyway. Because if you go onto their site, if you literally go onto their site and you look at how they have it messed up, like North America, South America, you won't see any, on the very main page, you will not see anyone of color. But if you go into the regional, that's when you start seeing the Afro-Latinas and the Afro-Latinos. They don't put them on the main site. It's the blonde hair, blue eye crew. That's the United States. That's our marketing. That's showing us.
And brother, let me tell you something, because
you are subcategory.
And brother, let me tell you something, because when Rhonda's saying this, you see, Rhonda knows stuff that and she's not going to say on the radio, but brother, there's some sisters down in South America that are surfers. I would drink their bathwater.
Some beautiful women out there that should be just on a mainstream level. It shouldn't be like you're a regional person. What you're telling that athlete is that you're not good enough for the front page. You're a subculture. You're a subcategory.
Yes. You're
not even the first one. You're the one that we choose because of. And it's ridiculous. And for me, it would hurt anybody's self-esteem. Or as a coach, I can't see myself telling a company or athlete, hey, look, I'm not going to put you on our main page, but you'll be in our catalog, or you won't even make it to the catalog. You'll be on this, back page, but we're still going to sponsor you, and you're going to wear these clothes everywhere you go. Who wants to wear that everywhere you go? Right. And knowing that you're a subcategory.
But getting back to Whitewash, what year was that movie made?
Oh, that movie was made. It started in 2000, and I think they started in around 2003 or 2004. I was already well into. I was a reporter at Black Athlete Sports Network at the time when they came through, when I found them, and that movie was already going in the wrong.
And what other movie has come out about? What other movie has come out about black surfers?
12 Mile North. All it is the Nike infomercial. It's horrible.
So 12 Mile North. Tell the listeners what you think about the movie 12 Mile North and what it was about.
12 Mile North was about a surfer named Nick Galvedon who surfed in Santa Monica during the Jim Crow era, who was supposedly, the myth was that he used to paddle from Santa Monica to Malibu to surf because no white person wanted to pick up this poor black man walking down the street with a surfboard. And so he would paddle.
Slow down, sister. All right, listen, folks, to what Rhonda just said. This brother would paddle, okay? 12 miles just to be able to surf at a surf spot. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, that crew, the Malibu crew, was the crew who would later go on. And I mean not later like 10 years after. I mean like 2 weeks after, get on a plane after Nick is killed in Malibu on a wave. they get on a plane. These guys that he's surfing get on a plane, go to Hawaii, and they started the entire surf revolution. The entire history of surfing will bring you right to these guys.
So you talking about guys, the white boys like Mickey Dora?
No, Mickey Dora comes later. Les Williams.
Okay, hold on. I'm saying this on purpose. You know me, I'm rhetorical. So for all you white folks out there who know about Mickey Dora, listen to what Rhonda said to you. Mickey Dora came later.
Peterson was first. Vicky Munoz was first. Ricky Gregg was first. These guys are all the central guys that got on planes and went over to Hawaii and started what is now modern day surfing. Now, in that group of people was Nick Gobbledon, who is the first documented. Because, like I said, our history is so new. We're just scratching the surface of our history. Is the first documented Afro-Latino surfer in American history.
And by the way, folks, he was a United States Navy World War II veteran.
Wow. Yes, he was. And the thing that cracked me up about him being a Navy veteran is that when he went in, and nobody has these photos except for me, and I'm not releasing them yet, is that he was a championship boxer. He never saw war. He never saw. As soon as he enlisted, the war was ended. So he never got to see battle. He was up in at his training camp up in Wisconsin, and he was a championship boxer. Now I have his company picture and his boxing photos. Nobody has those.
So brother, and for the listeners out there, the sad thing is, you want to know the only place that documented Nick before the movie 12 Miles North came out?
Yes, where?
Have you ever heard of Gidget?
I've never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, you ever heard of Gidget?
I know. Oh, yeah, Gidget. Yeah, the show Gidget.
Okay, I'm holding the book right here because I know Gidget, the real Gidget. Kathy Koner was her name, but now it's Kathy Koner Zuckerman. And you know Kathy, she loves it when she sees me. And she still works at a little place here in Malibu. But Gidget, in her book, which was written by her father, when she tried to tell her family how she wanted to get into surfing, one of the reasons her parents were afraid of her getting into surfing because she might end up dead like that colored boy at the Santa Monica. That black kid at the Santa Monica Pier.
That's how they named it.
Because Nick supposedly, while he was trying to shoot the pier, for you who don't know that term, is like we'll surf a wave and we'll go through the pilings at the pier. Supposedly Nick didn't make it and he hit the pier, and that's how he ended up dying from a head injury.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds suspicious.
So actually it's documented in Gidget's book, even though he's not named per se by name, because of the fact that when it was documented in her book and the circumstances of how he died, it's obvious she's referring to Nick in the book, Gidget.
Wow.
Yeah, I have that copy. It took me days to go look at it. She signed it. She was there when we did the contest, the 24-hour surf contest in Huntington Beach. I got to meet her. It was funny because later on, when the state of California gave me the award here for Black History Month, and I had her book and it was signed, and I said, "That's one of my prized possessions." And every black person that was around with the earshot looked at me and was like, "Why?"
Right, because they don't know.
They don't know, but it was like, "Why is this woman's book like this? This is what like it was so just to look on it, not the Rosa Parks book, not the Coretta Scott King book. It was the Gideon book." And, I mean, at that time, it was that was the truth because that's what I grew up on. I grew up on Gideon.
Hang on, sister, because there's always a meaning to my madness. So, brother, the day before we had this radio show together, I went and had lunch with my son and my grandson. And I went to a place called Roscoe's Waffle and Chicken. They have a place now over here across the street from Disneyland. So I walked into the place today, and the first thing I see on the wall is somebody has a painting for sale, and it shows Martin Luther King Jr., Barack Hussein Obama, and Rosa Parks. So I walked in the floor. I'm like, "Oh, you guys got a painting on the wall of Rosa Parks." I'm like, "So tell me, y'all, who was the godmother of the civil rights movement?" And everybody in unison, "Rosa Parks." I go, "Wrong. The godmother of the civil rights movement was one of my babysitters. Her name is Septima Clark. E-P as in Paul, T as in Tom, I-M as in Mary, A, Clark. So, of course, we live in the high-tech world today, so I didn't even get the words out of my mouth before somebody in there who's an employee looking at me like, who the hell is this nigga talking this crap? And she's busy Googling. She's like, oh, my God. And I don't know who did it, but somebody said, if you think that Rosa Parks is the godmother of the civil rights movement, you're wrong. I don't even know what website she found that on, but I told her, I said, whoever put that on there, that's because they heard about me, because I'm the person who's been telling folks, my babysitter on Johns Island, South Carolina, Septima Clark, is the godmother of the civil rights movement, not Rosa Parks. So, sisters, don't be too hard on them when they get mad at you about Gidget, not knowing that Gidget documented the first black documented surfer in the United States, because we as black folks don't even know our own history. And when black folks are telling you that Rosa Parks is the godmother of the civil rights movement, how can we hold it against white people who believe that? Because Rosa Parks is not the godmother. Septima Clark is the godmother of the civil rights movement. And she was the only one who could get away with slapping the hell out of Martin Luther King Jr. She trained Rosa Parks, and only because Rosa Parks was too dark and too old, Septima Clark was too dark and too old, they picked Rosa Parks because she was a high yeller, mulatto, and they figured that the white folks on the bus wouldn't beat her ass for being disruptive during the protest.
Gotcha.
Sorry, let me get back off my soapbox. Time to take another sip of this drink here.
Well, we have a caller, and it's Little Caesar. So, Little Caesar, what's your question, buddy?
You got a pizza for me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, we can hear you.
That's Little Caesar from New York. My question to Mark is, the more and more I think about it, and I'm hearing too that Trump, President Obama, former President, Hillary Clinton, and all of them are really on the same team, and it's just a big show that they're actually playing as they're actually really together. But when they get on TV, they act like they're against each other, but behind closed doors, they're really on the same team. That's my question.
Okay. So, did you guys hit him, Rhonda, Mark? Was you able to hear him?
No, I couldn't hear his question at all, but I did hear the part about some guy named Mark. And I'm like, okay, I keep on this show today. It's Michael Brown Parlor. So who the hell's calling me Mark from Anaheim? But anyway, I couldn't hear the question, brother. So repeat the question for me real quick.
Hold on one second, caller. I'm gonna turn up the thing totally. I'm gonna get a speaker. Now it should be better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yes.
Hey, all right. I'm Little Caesar from New York. My question is, I'm hearing that Trump, President Obama, Hillary, and all of them are really on the same team, and they're just acting like they really don't like each other, and it's just a big show, especially like with Fox News and CNN. I'm hearing it really, they're all friends behind closed doors. That's my question.
All right. Since we're talking about black surfers today, let me see how I can segue that question. For you folks who don't know it, Barack Hussein Obama, once he left the White House, he went surfing.
Wow.
And he also went kite surfing. Now, when he was in the White House, the Secret Service wouldn't allow him to do it because they were afraid that something, serious would happen to him. But the first thing Barack Hussein Obama did. Oh, by the way, speaking of colored folks, the guy from Brazil, unbelievable surfer. He's in his 30s now too, and still out there surfing all the time. One of the things this brother said was that there was one thing he could do. He said he wanted to teach Barack Hussein Obama how to surf. And when former President Obama went kite surfing, I did a big thing about that. So I'm going to segue and answer this question that's on a political nature, but since Barack Hussein Obama is actually a colored boy who serves, I can answer this. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are cousins. They're related by blood. Barack Hussein Obama is related to Dick Cheney by blood. There is no such thing as a Democratic Party, Republican Party. There's two wings off the same tree or two branches off the same tree. And the things that Barack Hussein Obama did from 2008 until 2016 facilitated the things that Trump is doing now. And as far as winning the last election, if the Democratic Party was serious about Hillary winning, they would have simply picked Bernie Sanders to be his running mate. They wanted Trump in the White House because this economy is about to crash. And if you go back into your history, during every major crash, it's the Republican Party who's in the White House when it happens. So the Republicans are going to be in the White House, and that even today the stock market once again took like an 800-point dive. Trillions of dollars was lost out of people's pensions. We're teetering right now on the biggest economic bubble when it comes to the student loans for colleges. We're teetering on one of the biggest bubbles ever on credit card loans, and we're right back 10 years later from the 2008 housing bubble. And they're trying to hang on until the holidays are over, but stock market is really shuddering right now because of what Trump said about shutting down the government, and also because of what's going on down at the Mexican border, at the U.S. border in Mexico, and also because of the tariffs with China. I don't give predictions on when it's going to happen, but I'm just telling you this, folks. We have been in the longest bull market in U.S. history, and after every bull market, there's a bear market, and the chickens are coming home to roost.
Wow.
So I hope that answers your question.
Now, we also got another caller right now. Caller, you're on the line.
Hello, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Mark is no stranger to me. This is Ron from West Palm Beach. I consider Mark a mentor because thanks to him, I am prepared for the Civil War. And thanks to him, for 2 years now, I've not eaten pork because there's been lots of pictures going around with pork that has human body parts in them. And there was a picture going viral in Argentina with a pig's face that looks like a human. So I stopped eating pork for 2 years now, and I thank Mark for that. And I just wanted to ask Mark about George H.W. Bush's funeral. There's been a couple of videos going around and on the net about some envelopes given to Biden, Pence, Clinton, Obama, Jeb Bush. And they all looked at it, and they all looked freaked out, like they saw something spooky. I wanted to know if you know anything about that and what you guys think about this Mueller investigation. What's going on with that? And that's it, my friend.
All right, since we're talking about black surfers today, let's see how I can figure out how to segue in this. He mentioned Argentina. For you folks who don't know, the word Argentine means is white as silver. Because Argentina, just like in this country, are brown folks. And white Europeans took over that country, still run it. I coach surfers from Argentina, so I'm very familiar with what's going on down in Argentina. And if you don't know this, the money in Argentina in recent weeks has lost 60% of its value. So that means if I have a female surfer, because Rhonda was telling you earlier about transportation and travel, imagine walking into a 7-Eleven, for example, here in the U.S. and buying a candy bar that costs you $1, and tomorrow morning you go in that same candy costs you $1.60. Okay, that's what's going on in Argentina, and you don't hear about it in the media here. So Argentina is headed for a major meltdown, already into a major meltdown. And Rhonda and I'll tell you, as far as South Americans go, I mean, there's some good girls come out of South America as surfers. And when it comes to this whole thing, and folks, listen to me, okay? I love you, I respect you, but we're here today to talk about black surfers. So I'm not going to answer any more political questions after this one. Full disclosure here, I knew Daddy Bush. He and I were members of some of the same organizations. Barbara Bush graduated high school in Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm from. She went to Ashley Hall. He married her right out of high school. He was Officer of Naval Intelligence and also heavily involved with the OSS, Office of Strategic Services. Most of my mentors were World War II ONI, OSS, and former mentors, the former World War II Nazis we brought to this country. So I'll just say this. Daddy Bush was responsible for keeping CIA together because in the 70s we had what was called the Church Committee. And the Church Committee was almost successful in doing what Kennedy said he was going to do, break CIA up into a million pieces. And Bush came in as CIA director under Gerald Ford, Officer of Naval Intelligence. Just to give you an idea of what's going on here, folks, okay? In the 50s, you had Eisenhower, who was president. His vice president was Nixon, Officer of Naval Intelligence. 1960, Kennedy becomes president, Officer of Naval Intelligence. His vice president is Johnson, Officer of Naval Intelligence. 64, Johnson's in, Officer of Naval Intelligence. 68, Nixon's in, Officer of Naval Intelligence. Nixon gets impeached. 72, you got Gerald Ford, Officer of Naval Intelligence. 76, Jimmy Carter comes in, Officer of Naval Intelligence. 80, Vice President George Walker Bush, Officer of Naval Intelligence. I can do this all day, folks. Okay? Nobody fucks with officers' naval intelligence. I'll just leave it at that. So I'll just to answer your question, sir, I don't know anything about that letter. I don't come on shows and talk about speculation. I talk about facts and things that I know. I love you folks. I'm glad you're calling in. I know you know I'm Mark from Anaheim, but today we're talking about black surfers, and those are the only questions I'm going to address from here on out. Now I got to take another sip.
All right, caller. Hopefully, pertaining to the surfing thing, now that the U.S. will have a team, won't we fund some of these girls in their training?
Hell no. Are you listening to me?
No.
Blonde, blue-eyed from California. Let me okay, I've had a couple of drinks now, so now I can be a little more loose-lip, okay? Let me give you an example, okay? I'm from the East Coast. Now, what I do is I go down to the beach during the Nationals, and I purposely go down and make myself available to anybody from the East Coast who's out here for the first time to help them. I know the way. I know who they're surfing against. I know the judges. I've been living out here since 1982. I've been coming out here since I went to boot camp in San Diego in 77. And most of these white folks, they can't get past the nigger thing, so they don't come to me for assistance. So I'm not going to call any names, but some people out there listening, because I know a lot of white folks will listen to the show today, because I made sure they knew we were going to be on the show today. Anyway, so there was a little white girl from my home state of South Carolina, and I made myself available. 2 days in a row, I was going to pay for their meals, sit down, help her. They never showed up. That white girl from South Carolina got a whopping score of like a 1.9 out of all her waves. Meanwhile, there's a family from Florida, and the mom from Florida goes, "Hey, you know me, I don't care if you're black. Help me out with my daughter." Guess who won the national title in that damn category? The girl from Florida. That's what I do. So when you sit here and ask about the U.S., brother, let me just tell you how it's working right now. We have so many folks in this country who already know they stand no chance of being represented by the U.S. team. I've got girls who live here in Newport Beach surfing for Mexico. There's a girl from Malibu surfing for Germany. When we had the International Surfing World Junior Games, the announcer for the program, drop-dead gorgeous little girl named Lindsay Jacobellis, snowboarder, famous snowboarder, Olympic snowboarder, by the way, medals, Paul Mitchell sponsored. She came to me because somebody told her, if you want to know about women surfing, if you want to know what's going on in this contest, go talk to that colored guy over there. So, Lindsay called me for information. That's all well and good. But I say this to you because when she had her roster of 400 plus surfers, this is what she said to me. Can you point out on this list the people carrying the flags for other countries but actually live here in the U.S.? And I pointed out something like 14 different people.
Wow.
Got a girl here from Dana Point surfing for Canada. That's what's going on. Everybody wants a shot at these Olympics, and they already know the U.S. is going to pick their white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed folks. And since Hawaii goes out of its way to show people that when they win a contest, they wear the Hawaiian flag and not a U.S. flag, and for you dumbasses out there, that's not the Hawaiian flag. That's a goddamn British flag. The Hawaiian flag is green, not just red, white, and blue with the British colors in it. But, you're supposed to have been brainwashed. You don't know any better. Well, they've already pissed off the white folks here in San Clemente. There's the mafia here is surfing San Clemente. So good luck with the Hawaiians getting on the U.S. team. So they'll have a couple. But it'll be like they did last time when we had the World Games. We'll have a Zoe McDougal or a Summer Macedo because they passed the test of looking white enough. But even Hawaii's getting screwed. I coached a young girl. There's a young lady. This girl, and I told Rhonda this. At my dream, there's a young lady from Puerto Rico. I would love to spend the next year with this young lady because that girl deserves to be on the U.S. team. Her name is Maddie Ryan. This girl is unbelievable. But she's in Puerto Rico. She's got no direction. She's got no guidance. And the United States treats them like niggers. Still won't make them a goddamn state. Still calls them a fucking colony. And this is what's going on. So you done pissed me off asking that question. I'm sorry. Can we move on to the next question?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. After that soapbox.
Yeah, so the answer, to make that short, the whole U.S. team is blonde. Boys and girls.
Oh, my God.
So there's no chance.
Well, they had one token, Tara Watanabe, but he failed so miserably at the junior games. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
Even he was blonde. What you mean?
I know.
Tell it, Rhonda. Tell it. I find this fascinating, guys. So seriously, that in this day and age, the Aryan, the Nordic superiority BS is still being propagated as if this is the correct way.
Well, let me give you a good example. Okay, let's go back to Puerto Rico, for example. One of the greatest servers I've ever known, and I personally know him, is a guy who is from Puerto Rico. Now, Rhonda knows who he is. And he doesn't compete. Even when he was competing, he didn't really give a shit that much about the competition thing. So he was more like a Zen surfer. And he was sponsored by bands. And he did a lot of, just videos and stuff. And now he's going around trying to... Now, when the hurricane hit down in Puerto Rico, he's one of the prime movers that got people from around the surfing community to help him get fresh water into areas. There's still places in Puerto Rico today that still don't have electricity or fresh water.
Right, unfortunately.
And his name is Dylan Graves, okay? You won't ever see Dylan Graves on the World Surfing League popular surfing pole. Dylan has done so much behind the scenes for surfers. I only wish that he had become more involved with helping his fellow Puerto Ricans prepare for the 2020 Olympics. But Dylan is an unbelievable surfer, and he's really good with young people, and I trust him with young ladies, because I don't recommend many people to coach young ladies. I'm hard on my girls, but God forbid if I find out somebody's trying to get in their pants. But anyway, I'm just saying Dylan's one of those few people out there who I know could make a big difference for Puerto Rico with the Olympics coming up, and he could be an ambassador to manage the U.S. recognizes Puerto Rico as a damn, part of the United States, to at least have one person, male and female, on the U.S. team.
Yes.
And sadly, Dylan's involved in some other stuff behind the scenes right now, so he's not doing that. So when I was going off on my little rant here, I helped Puerto Rico during these recent junior games, but I didn't find out until the middle of the week that they didn't even have a primary coach. I was so frustrated. I was so angry, because had I the slightest indication that Puerto Rico did not have a primary shortboard coach for this contest, I would have spent all my time helping them, because they have some of the most talented, raw talent people, and nobody's giving them any love, any direction, and any guidance. And it's sad, because with these Olympics coming up, there are some people from Puerto Rico who could definitely be representing the United States and possibly be a medalist who will go unrecognized and not get a chance to be on the U.S. team.
And it all goes back to this racial politics nonsense.
Well, like I said, even Congress, under Obama, the Congress voted that Puerto Rico is still a colony.
This is what is so frustrating. We got all this young talent, all these people who have heart, that's just going to the wayside, just not being utilized. Like you said, they're not being recognized. No one's putting the financial back into this so that they can get their boards, their wetsuits, and all that that they need, and the travel and the hotel. And the sad thing about it, if we would just invest just a little bit, the rewards, look, when I see some of those surfing videos and I see the passion in these young ladies' eyes, you see the joy when they're just, congregate and they're just talking shop about surfing, that means something to me. Because at the end of the day, all we have in this whole planet is our feelings, is the way we are inspired to be better ourselves. And it's high time we stop beating each other down and we start uplifting each other and start supporting those like you and Rhonda who are out here on the front lines, actually reaching out to these young ladies and these men too, because I know that black boys surfing is coming. I think this is what we should be pointing the finger at. This is what we should be all striving to do. Whether surfing is your dream, it might not be your dream. Maybe jumping out of a plane with parachute is your dream. Whatever it is, failure is not an option, folks. You keep the dream. Don't ever let anyone steal your dream.
Failure is not an option. So, having said that, let me ask the colored girl that's on this radio show with me. Did you get anything in the mail?
I did.
No, this is why I hang out with white folks. Because you didn't even tell me you received your T-shirt in the mail.
No, I can't tell you how we're on.
Oh yeah, right. And you know why he said that?
I can't say that.
Because he got his T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
I told mine. Bobby wore hers to bed last night.
Thanks for sharing that. And I got a visual of some young girls. Look, I got enough problem with my young white girls always trying to show me photographs of them in bed. I don't need you to tell me about how. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing, okay? Now, the brother just said it's kind of a frustrating thing when he sees that. Folks, I mean this with all sincereness, and Rhonda has no idea I'm going to say this. I live vicariously through my surfers. I've done a lot of crazy things in life, and I know it's just but for the grace of God I'm still alive. I used to bungee jump, surfing, skiing, jumping out of helicopters and airplanes, motorcycles, jeeps, you name it, mountain climbing, all that stuff. And guess what? My body is taking its toll. Mm-hmm. And I go surfing now, separate my shoulders, so I live vicariously through my young surfers. But it's because of the young surfers who help me keep my sanity. Because I look at them and they give me hope for the future. When I hear all the drama, look, I was with Russians. I was coaching Russians at this junior game. We weren't talking about Putin. We weren't talking about Trump. We were talking about surfing. Mm-hmm. Okay? China was represented at that world game. Okay? 44 different countries. People sit here and talk about Iran. Okay? They don't even know we have professional contests in Iran. People talk about China. They don't even know until last year. The last 5 world longboard championships were held in China. Last year was held in Taiwan. Taiwan was represented at this world game. So what I'm just saying is we are folks who, I call them surf ambassadors from around the world, from different countries. I was with the Israeli team. I was with everybody. And it's sad because while I was at that beach and took photographs, and I tell Rhonda this all the time, the saddest thing about that, many of these people have come to the U.S. for the first time and might be their only visit to the U.S. There was only one surfer period from the country of Poland. And guess who's the only person who took photographs of them? And thank God for Facebook, because I find them later on Facebook. They befriend me, and I send them the photographs, which is the only evidence they were even in this country. Wow. I haven't posted the one yet of me holding the Russian flag, because I said, well, if I can't beat Trump, I might as well join him. So the Russian team gave me the Russian flag, and I'm holding the Russian flag. But I haven't posted that one yet. So, brother, on a serious note, when I say all this to you, what I'm saying is Rhonda doesn't know this, but Rhonda has helped me to maintain my sanity, too, because my soapbox rants tonight, she's already heard them. Because I get so frustrated sometimes that I call her up. She just recently heard my frustrated rant about Puerto Rico because I mentioned Maddie Ryan. Unbelievable raw talent. And there's another little girl on our team named Mia Calderon. Oh my God, if I had this fantasy dream, I would love to have Mia Calderon and Maddie Ryan for 6 months. And I guarantee you, there ain't a damn person on that U.S. team that would beat them. I was with a girl from France, and the 2 top girls on the U.S. team didn't make it as far as my girl from France. Wow. And I wasn't even there to coach her. I was there to get inside her head to make her believe in herself. Because that's what I do. Because I was trained by Nazis. I know all about psychological warfare. Well, black folks need to start believing in themselves and stop believing the bullshit they've been watching in the media and on their stupid social media sites and on that goddamn smartphone, iPad, and iPhone. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, I hope that answered your question, sir.
Well, it did. But the real question I have is how, like, a lot of our young folks are obese, all right? And I'm not trying to body shame nobody. I'm not trying to fat shame nobody at all. But when I saw some of the videos, they were talking about the surfing stance. You have to have your hands basically underneath your nipples, push up, right? So it takes a lot of upper body strength. What do you tell our younger folks that are a little bit heavier? You know, can you surf if you're fat? Can you surf if you're fat?
So, Rhonda, would you like to take this first?
Yeah, surfing has to do with your balance, the ability to balance yourself. Okay. There are a lot of obese people who surf, and I mean, there's some. You could just look at the Hawaiian cruise. Some of the Hawaiian cruises are huge, and these guys surf better than these guys on the tour. So, I mean, it's not a matter of your size or your weight. It's your ability to balance and your mental state, because surfing is like 90% a mental thing, and the 10% is balance. And that's a fact with any sport, but more so with that. So when I have little kids, and I've had younger groups, I've had like equal surf and skate forever, We have some kind of like aerobic program, or we have an exercise program that we always initiate whenever we take kids out, and we do it when we take the girls out. Now, my Girl Surf isn't just sponsoring and training these girls. I'm a personal trainer, so I'm doing the fitness, conditioning, nutrition, and then the also coaching. So it's a whole. When you come with me, you get the whole experience of a trainer. You don't just get like, oh yeah, she knows this. She used to be a judge, or she is a judge, and I'm judging you from the ways. I'm judging you from the ways, but I know what you should know there. But I also know how to keep you healthy and happy and fit to be in this sport.
So, brother, unfortunately, surfing is, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. What I was going to say to you, surfing has gone through a major evolution. Now, back in 2000, I want to say 2012, a movie came out called Going Vertical. And the big question was, who invented the first shortboard? Was it Australia, was it Hawaiian, or was it the United States? And the top three shapers they had featured in that was Bob McTavish from Australia, Mike Henson from Endless Summer fame, where they were shocked that a black person the first time on a surfboard was able to stand up and ride the wave because they don't know that niggas invented surfing, but we'll come back to that. And Dick Brewer out of Hawaii. Well, it turns out Bob McTavish shaped a shortboard in 1968 for the World Championship Games, by the way, which was held in Puerto Rico, right next to a nuclear power plant. Oh. And so apparently the Australians get credit for creating the first shortboard. What I'm trying to tell you, brother, up until then, most of your successful surfers were big boys because they were on long boards surfing these waves. But once they started going to short boards, that's when the shorter, skinnier surfers were allowed to be more successful in surfing because they went from long board to short board. And the boards today are so bloody light because they're made out of material so they can do all these fancy airs and stuff that, when it comes to body, we're not asking you to be a professional competitive surfer. We're asking you to learn to love the water because if nothing else, you need to learn to swim and have survival skills. Mm-hmm. Basic survival skills. We just had a recent tragic accident where a boat overturned and everybody on that boat, it seemed like they had no life jackets on, but they also had no swimming skills. And I mean, there were families, entire families that were wiped out in a tragic boating accident because it could have been prevented. Right. So what I'm saying is, unfortunately, we as black folks, for lack of a better term here, have this history of being afraid of water, and they need to get over that fear. Right. Now here in Southern California, we have the Black Surfers Collectives of California, and they do offer workshops to introduce inner city black youth to the water. Now, I worked at LAPD. I worked in Watts for my last 7 years, okay? Watts is probably at the most 7 miles from the Pacific Ocean, and I can tell you there are black folks in Watts who've never been to the beach. Wow. That's unfathomable. See, that's what we're dealing with. You're in Missouri, so I expect you not to be at the beach. Oh, that's first place I ran to when I went to California. You have lakes, and folks need to learn not to be afraid of the water. I used to teach a class to black at the summer camp. There was an academy called Boggs Academy. It was an all-black school in Georgia. It's long gone now. But they would have their summer camps at a place over in Beaufort County, South Carolina. So a couple of years, I actually went down there, and one of the classes I actually teach as a water safety instructor was how to survive, more importantly, how to save somebody's life without even knowing how to swim. Right. That's the kind of classes I used to teach. Black folks, get involved with the Red Cross. Don't wait till there's an earthquake, a hurricane, or a flood in your area. Get involved with the Red Cross now because those are the organizations that respond when there's a natural disaster. Yes. Yes. They're also the ones who coordinate and basically have to certify those who are involved in water safety. Get involved in water safety classes. Get communities involved in water safety classes. Come down to the beach and learn not to be afraid of the water. Because guess what? The oceans are rising. I don't care what you want to call it. Climate change, global warming, call it what the hell you want. The oceans are rising. And what I'm trying to say to you, and I hope that I'm kind of speaking here for Rhonda on this, is when we come on this show today, one, we're trying to inspire you to go out and learn how to do things without always waiting for somebody else to come in and do it for you.
Right.
Okay? And it's really sad because many of the accomplishments that were made by the civil rights movement, those are being taken off the books now. Don't expect for the federal government to come in and help you. Don't expect for the state government to come in and help you. You as communities have to form organizations. Rhonda has the Black Girl Surf. There are young ladies here in Southern California who are now meeting together who would have never done that before had Rhonda not taken it upon herself to create this organization.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? And I live in Orange County. When I moved here in 1984, the demographics of the black population of Orange County was 2.8% black. Do you know what it is today?
Right.
2.8%.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I
it's
hung
gonna
out
get
in
worse.
Belinda, and it wasn't the most diverse crowd. I mean, it was primarily Asian, but the people were nice. Don't get me wrong; the people were nice in Belinda. I met a lot of good people, a lot of great friends, but it just was not that diverse of an area.
So just to go back, because what I'm saying here is just, I mentioned Mike Henson earlier. I know Mike Henson, and Mike, Mike personally signed this book for me. I respect Mike because Mike was one of these white boys, was made famous by the movie Endless Summer, the quintessential surfing.
So wait, calling it.
Come on, just relax. Doesn't mean no madness here. So Mike, he signed this book for me, and the reason I have so much respect for Mike is in that movie Going Vertical that I referred to earlier, Mike comes out and tells you how he was at the top of his game, a millionaire, got busted for smuggling drugs in his surfboards coming back into this country, and went from being a millionaire to eating out of Dixie dumpsters. Okay? So a lot of these white folks, the reason they're intimidated by the presence of someone as myself, not only am I a black guy who take no shit, I'm a former cop. So they're all paranoid because a lot of these folks are into stuff you don't even want to know. And they're all paranoid because they look at me as still being the popo.
Right.
And they know I'm not going to allow them to be taking advantage of my girls, and I teach my girls to have self-respect and independence and come to me if somebody's doing something they have no business doing. So that might right there makes me a threat. So I always have to watch my ass because I can't afford, since most of my girls are little white girls, 13 to 17 years old, I can't have somebody making some false accusations of me having some kind of improper relationship with or inappropriate relationship with a minor. So I'm always on the beach where everybody can see. And I just referred, this young lady, she won the national title this year at Huntington Beach, and she and her mom, they left the beach while everybody's trying to pat them on the back. They ran up on the pier because they knew I was the one who put a foot in her ass, and she won that contest. So she runs up to hug me. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm going to give you a hug. Take your ass right back over there next to your mom. You pull your wetsuit back up. When you zip your wetsuit up, then you come over here and give me a hug. And she's like, oh, yeah. Because I don't let these girls hug me in their bikini.
Right.
I don't let them hug me in their towels.
Right.
And I don't let them hug me when they take their wetsuit down, they got their tops on.
Image is everything.
See what I'm saying?
Image is everything.
Because everybody's watching. And even though she really wanted to give me a hug and she wasn't even thinking that way, somebody else would take that damn photograph and use it against us later on. And because that girl won that national title, by the way, she's already got haters out there. One, because there were other girls they were expecting to win that contest. She comes over here from Florida and wins that contest to a lot of people out here in California are pissed off. And two, they found out the nigger helped her. So what I'm also telling you folks out there is don't always think that because you're out there in the community you think you're accepted. You have to always watch your sick. Yes. As Rhonda being the Coast Guard would know and me being the Marine Corps would know. That means watch your ass. Don't put yourselves in compromising positions that even when you're not doing anything wrong, somebody can make it look like you're doing something wrong. Because one of my all-time favorite bohemians was Claire Booth Luce. For you folks who don't know, God, I used to travel with some interesting stuff. Anyway, Claire Booth Luce was the wife of Henry Luce, the founder of Time Life magazine. And she's the one who coined the phrase, no good deed goes unpunished.
Wow. And
that's why I respect Rhonda. That's why I admire Rhonda. And I love Rhonda because Rhonda has no idea. Sometimes it's frustrating. I want to pull my hair out when I'm out there on that beach with these little white girls. And I tell their parents sometimes, you don't talk to your daughter until I talk to them. Because these little girls are trying their best. They don't do very well. And unfortunately, in the contest, the announcers only announce the people who made it. They don't say anything to encourage the girls who didn't make it. And then I said, look, I don't have that long ride home with them. I don't need you all beating them up in the car because they already feel like crap. So you don't talk to them until I talk to them. But sometimes I come home because even with my best intentions, I got some girls who are just hard-headed, knuckleheads, and Rhonda doesn't say a word. I just call her up and start venting and ranting and cursing, and she just laughs and just says, "It's okay, Michael. I've been doing that now since you got to hear me when I'm over in Senegal or I'm over in some other." That's what, because Rhonda and I have nobody else.
So is it? If he calls me, then I feel good because then I can get it all out. We get it all out.
But Patrick, I'm glad you mentioned failure is not an option. Now, that's a term many folks like use with the U.S. Navy SEALs. I train Navy SEAls, and I run 2 Navy SEAL sites. And this year was my 10th anniversary of quitting LPD and going back to surfing. So this year I made some T-shirts for everybody who I care about in the surfing community. But Patrick, until you said that, some colored girl on this radio show they didn't even call me and tell me she got her damn shirt. So thank you.
I got it yesterday.
Damn, you're so white.
I did. I got it yesterday. And I said, I'm going on this show tomorrow, so I'm going to let him know that they both came, right? I got the extra large. That's mine. So, nobody's getting that one. But I do. I love the front. I love the back, what it says on the back. And that's exactly what he just said.
So for all you people out there, I don't give a damn if you're black. I don't give a damn if you're black, white, brown, yellow, red, whatever you are. Listen to me. You have to start thinking for yourselves that failure is not an option.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to take it upon yourself now to see what's in the best interest of your family and you. And if there are people out there that you know are negative, get away from the negativity.
Yes.
When I'm at the beach, I don't even allow my girls to talk or think negativity. And if their parents start talking negativity, I take them away from their parents. Because unless you start believing in yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody tries to do to help you, they're going to fail.
Absolutely. And maybe Rhonda can answer this. The spiritual side to the whole surfing experience, when did you get that sense of, this is a totally, awesome thing to do? When was did you ever have a spiritual surfing awakening?
I have one every time I go out, but the first time I can remember is when probably the very first time I ever stood up on the board. And that would have been when I was, 15, 16 years old in Hawaii. Because once you take off that first wave, that feeling that you have, not only for me, because I was such a frustrated kid, I was going through so much, but that feeling of accomplishment with the push of the wave, the water, everything, it was just like a connection. I knew I wasn't going to, that was it for me. This is where I'm going to be. This is a sport. I ski, that's cute. I skateboard, that's cute. But surfing, that's what I really, really want to do. And it was probably the first time I stood up. For me now, I only surf. It's funny because I do all of these things so that other African Americans or Afro people can be seen. But when it comes to surfing for myself, I surf by myself still because I work in the industry and there's so much noise all the time about the water. I don't want to carry that with me when I'm in the water. So I'm very private. If I do a photo shoot, it's me and the photographer. Other than that, I go to the secret spot and that's where I hang out because I don't like the aggression that's in the water and I don't like that disconnect that I have with why I'm here and why I surf. I don't want to lose that behind all this hype.
Wow. So the spiritual aspect of it?
Yeah, what about you,
Mike?
Mike?
Let me take a little sip of the spirits right now. When I was starting to get into surfing back in Charleston, South Carolina, I would catch a cold, and have all that mochos and stuff. And what I learned is, like, when I go out in the ocean, it cleaned my body out. It's like that cold, all that mucus was getting out. And of course, it's sad because now with the water so contaminated, it's just the opposite. But I used to actually go out in the water, and it would cleanse my body from sometimes the ailments I had. If you really talk to surfers, and I talk about this whole term soul surfer that Bethany Hamilton's movie, kind of alludes to. When you're out in the water, you're not thinking about politics. You're not thinking about crime. You're not thinking about drama. Surfing and sailing were the opiates for me. You're out there as one with Mother Ocean. As far as my background, I'm a Christian. I'm a Presbyterian. But through surfing, I've been able to communicate with people who are Buddhists, atheists, agnostic. I don't deal with the Luciferians. Sorry, you guys. But
love for the Luciferians.
When it comes to surfing, I have coached surfers from Japan who speak no English. I speak no Japanese, and we got along just fine. At this recent contest, I was with Team Peru, and a few of the surfers spoke no English. I spoke very little Spanish. We got along just fine. I was with Team France. I learned Vietnamese teaching me French, but, not using my French. I've lost most of it. There were a couple of people on the French team that spoke very little English. Most of them spoke some English. And we got along just fine. Because that's what surfing does. Surfing is a religion. Surfing is medicinal. It's an unbelievable therapy. For somebody who's into the workplace and comes home after a 40-hour work week and stressed out, let me just give you a little hint here. Even if you don't get in the water, go walk on the beach. Barefoot. Because if you don't realize this, just walking on the beach barefoot and that sand going on your feet and between your toes is causing you to release stress. I was into the honky-tonk community, country music, rodeos and stuff. And there's this one song, I got my toes in the water, ass in the sand. Hey, seriously. No, seriously. It's a very therapeutic thing. And for you folks who don't live by the ocean, you don't have to. We have surfers that surf in the Great Lake. We have surfers that surf in front of oil tankers going down Lake Charles or whatever. You don't have to be a surfer. There are folks out there who know that fishing is therapeutic for them and stick their feet in the water. What I'm saying to you is we all need to find an outlet to spend some quality time with ourselves. Not with the husband, not with the wife, not with the children. If you don't learn to find some time to spend quality time to yourself, you're going to self-destruct. And as I'm talking to you right now, the United States narcotics-related overdose deaths, along with the suicide rate in this country, is so high that for the first time, our life expectancy is lower than it was since the 1950s. Because people are stressing out. So I'm hoping that the things that we shared here today, Rhonda and I, are giving you some ideas on some things to do to get away from the Trumpitis, the tweet, the cops always shooting black folks kind of thing. I mean, seriously, we have to learn to handle the things that God has given us the ability to handle and to leave those things that are out of our control in the hands of somebody else.
Right.
Take care of your family. Take care of yourselves. But more importantly, you have to take care of yourself. Because, trust me, folks, high blood pressure is killing a lot of colored folks. Diabetes is killing a lot of colored folks. The stress, you have to find a stress reliever. And for me, surfing and sailing has always been that religious stressful relief. So I hope that answers the question.
And the final question here, I know we're at...
Final? Are we done?
Well, no, we're at almost 2 hours, but the issue with the brown folks, the black folks, and the Latinos kind of having an issue or conflict out there in Southern California, do you envision maybe surfing could be a way for us to mend these bridges in brown and black or brown, black, white, brown, black, and Asian, whatever? We can come together because I'm just want to see unity with the people.
Well, let me take that one. So since My Girl Surf has launched, I'm in touch with the Latinx surfers in Southern California. So right now we're working on contests and things that we can do inter-club to get us all together. The reason, and they know that the reason why I went and got, had the city of Santa Monica put this plaque there was behind the blacks and Mexicans that were going against each other at Santa Monica High. So the reason why that plaque is there is for this problem. And so they know this. They know why I did it. It's out there. It's well known why I did it. It's to bring black and Mexican back together. They have the city of Santa Monica before, they started passing legislation about to have it illegal when we can buy on beach property. So they know that. They know their history now. Everybody knows their history now that people are starting to talk about it. The indigenous surfers, they've connected with Black Girl Surf, and we're going to do some stuff. So there's a group of us that have had enough, and it's time to make a real change in what you see, the imagery. And you'll see me on panels. I've been invited to go to USC to speak next semester. I'm doing a panel over at San Diego State University in April, and you'll see that I'm even under Black Girl Surf putting an array of colors under my envelope because it is time for all of us to make a change. Yeah, it is Black Girl Surf, but I reach out to everybody. It's not just Black girls. It's, the Latinas, it's Asians. It's across the board now of women of color. And that's the most thing that I can say the thing that I'm the most proud of is that we've been able to diversify and connect at the same time and have one basic understanding. And that is that we all need to make each other stronger by supporting what we're doing now individually in the surf industry. And there's no competition between us. And this is what I love now about you can have you're always going to have that little petty, infighting or whatever. But as far as unity is concerned, as you see in the public eye, we have all decided to unify because it makes sense. We know now that there's strength in numbers, and there is actually, if you look at it as a whole, there's more of us than there are of them. So,
I love your attitude, Rhonda. I want to go on. I love your spirit. I love that attitude, that fire, that passion. You can tell when people are genuine, and you're as genuine as it gets when it comes to really pushing forth this narrative that we can do this. We don't have to sit on our butts. We don't have to, and also, by the way, thank you for your military service. But we don't have to sit on our butts. We don't have to wait for this crap, and we don't have to take it either. We can stand up in the right way, not the stupid way. In a very smart, rational way. I love it. And I want you to come back on the show. Huh?
And let me just go back to what I was saying earlier, because I mentioned Endless Summer. And Endless Summer is considered the quintessential surfing movie, okay? And I had nothing to do with the movie going vertical. Now, you're talking major, legendary surfer shapers. Bob McTavish, Mike Henson, and Dick Brewer. And yet, when they did the premiere showing of that movie at the Anaheim International Film Festival, they asked me to join them on the red carpet.
Wow.
I respectfully declined because I didn't feel that I should have been up there because I had nothing to do with the movie. But they really wanted me to be up there with them. And I was like, no, I can't do it. And I did. And what I'm saying is, Rhonda and I don't ever ask for people to pat us on the back or give us accolades. But I know right now there are lots of white folks who surf that are listening to this show. And just like I had no idea that Big Brewer, Mike Henson, and Bob McTavish were even aware of who I was, they know.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying attention. And I have lots of white folks in the surfing community who behind the scenes will quietly send me messages saying, keep doing what you're doing. I have lots of white folks who quietly come up to me at surf contests and say, hey, man, I can't say anything publicly, but I just want you to know I read all your stuff and keep doing what you're doing. Because they don't have the moral courage to do it.
Right.
And that's the sad thing. And I guess that's why I respect Rhonda, because we're not vigilantes. We just feel that right is right.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to young folks, I know right now I'm coaching predominantly young white girls in surfing because that's who's out there. But I also know the day is going to come when their greatest fear is that I'm going to end up coaching some young black girl who's going to dominate in the surfing community. Now, I purposely chose to be with women because when I used to surf at Isle Palms in South Carolina, to this day I have no idea who she is, but there was a white woman. In fact, Lauren Hutton, famous model actress, she's from Charleston. I have a sneaking suspicion one of Lauren Hutton's close friends, a model who was staying at a home at Isle Palms. She surfed out there in the summertime, and she saw me out in the water. And I was just learning how to surf. This is back in '78. And I was still, really stuck. The only thing worse than the waves in Isle Palms was my surfing ability. And I was about to call it quits. And this woman, who to this day I have no idea who she was, and the waves stuck, but she was ripping. And she came up to me and said, yeah, I used to always hate it with these white boys in the water, blah, 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 blah. That's why I like to surf here at Isle Palms too. Yeah, I see you out here in the water. I just want you to know, keep doing what you're doing. And she kind of inspired me to not quit and keep surfing.
That's awesome.
There have been several times in the last couple of years where I've thought about quitting. In fact, there's a guy, his name is, I'm not going to say his name because he didn't give me permission, but there's a guy who's a surfing Hall of Famer on the sidewalk here at Huntington Beach. The walking surfer, they call it the surfing walk of fame. Oh, I'll say his name. His name is Chuck Lennon. He was in the Navy. He's like, God, he's in his 80s, but he could pass for his mid-60s. Great guy. He was up on the Huntington Beach Pier, and he saw me one day, and he goes, you're always out here telling these girls what to do, and they listen to you, and their parents don't even know why they did so well in the contest, because they did something you told them, and their parents had told them to do something just the opposite. You got to take your ass down there and coach them. So it was Chuck Lennon, who's a legend in Huntington Beach, surfing Walk of Fame. He's the one who told me, instead of staying up here on the pier and merely taking photographs of them and secretly telling the girls on the other side of the pier what to do before they came back on the surf side, to go down on the beach and start coaching these girls. So he inspired me to do that. And there have been a few times when I've actually come to the point where I just I can't do this anymore. And last year I was up on the pier, didn't even know her from Adam. Another legendary surfer. They call her Danger Woman. That's one for you all to Google. Danger Woman, female surfer. She's a surfing Walk of Famer. Just happened to walk up on the pier, and we just happened to be standing next to each other, and we started talking, and she looked at me and she goes, whatever you do, don't stop what you're doing.
Right on.
I'm not making this stuff up. This year, once again, I had some frustrating moments with some of the females, and I'm at the World Junior Surf Championships and met 5 young ladies from South Africa. They were the greatest surf ambassadors at that Junior World Championship. Never met them before, never saw them before. Now several of them communicate with me almost on a weekly basis. And they didn't know it, but at that time I was seriously considering making this my last year doing what I do. But having met them and seeing the surf ambassadorship they demonstrated, and Rhonda will tell you right straight out, I'm gonna be careful how I share this story, but there was one young lady on the South African team with another surfer from that contest. And I introduced her to, who did I introduce them to, Rhonda?
How'd you start?
So the girl goes, oh, wait a minute. I said, by the way, this surfer's from South Africa, as you know, but this young lady is from Senegal. Now, just to show you the ignorance. And she didn't mean any harm by it, but this just shows you the ignorance. She goes, oh, you're from South Africa and she's from Senegal. Oh, so y'all can talk African.
That really happened. I was there. It happened.
And what I'm saying to you is this young lady from South Africa who might be listening, I know her family will be listening right now. I was so proud of her because she didn't say, you idiot, we don't speak the same language. Continent of Africa has many languages. In this country, if you talk to the average U.S. citizen, they think Africa is a country.
Right.
Because that's how they've been trained, educated, and programmed. And they don't even realize that African countries had different languages. Now, the princess is from Senegal. I was able to speak to her in English, but I also spoke to her in French because I know the French occupied Senegal. To this day, France collects money from
Yes.
21 countries on the continent of Africa as colonial countries.
Right.
People don't even know that.
Right.
This is what's going on in our society today. So what I'm saying is when we have folks who really mean well, that young lady who said that, she was really being sincere and nice and genuine, but she was demonstrating her ignorance based on her education.
Right.
Just like the folks in that Roscoe's Waffle and Chicken today who shot until they got on their internet to verify what I said was true, had no idea that Rosa Parks is not the godmother of the civil rights movement. September Clark is. We have been programmed. We have been miseducated. We have been disinformed for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult now to tell what fake news really is. So I commend you, brother, for having this show, because if I come on this show, I tell folks, don't believe anything I tell you. Do your own research and make up your own mind. And the reason I asked Rhonda to come on this show today, we don't have time for the bullshit. We don't have time for the lies. We don't have time for the disinformation. And we don't have time for the misinformation.
Right.
Starting next year, though, as you heard Rhonda allude to the fact now you got me on her side. I'm going to spend more time helping this sister, helping a young lady from Senegal who's a promising individual for the upcoming Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I was seriously considering coaching the Cuban team. But when Fidel died, I don't really trust the leadership over there right now. I know where Fidel's from. Fidel and I would never be friends. So I know I could keep it strictly professional. But Fidel is dead. The U.S. would consider me a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubans would consider me a spy based on my background. So I didn't pursue that endeavor of becoming a coach for the Cuban team because that's another country that has colored folks, black folks, and we don't even realize the connection of our African Americans in this country to the Afro Americans down in Cuba.
Mm.
And Castro has always been a strong supporter of African nations. That's why he was so hated. Everybody's labeled a communist.
Right.
When actually the Soviet Union was providing assistance to African countries that the United States government was screwing. Castro came to the U.S. first before he ever went to the Soviet Union. Castro went to Harlem, met with black folks in Harlem, and the United States government told him to F off. And the Soviets go, hey, if the U.S. ain't going to help you, yeah, we'll help you. And most folks don't even know this. So what I'm saying is it's really sad because I don't think Cuba's going to be included in this coming Olympics. We got black folks in Dominican Republic. You want to know one of the greatest places for surfing is Haiti, and we're not going to have any blacks representing Haiti in this Olympics. Because Hillary Clinton and Bill, hey, Bubba. I can call him Bubba because I turned down the opportunity for both the White House scholarship and a Fulbright scholarship when Bubba was president. And I know how Hillary and Bubba stole much of that money from Haiti during the earthquake. I was offered, you ready for this, folks? I was offered $18,000 a month to go down to Haiti after that earthquake.
Wow.
And I turned it down because I didn't want that blood money. I know how Hillary's brother has now got the contract to mine the gold in Haiti.
Wow.
And Europeans, they'll run Haiti because you never see nobody who's the president who doesn't have a French last name. All right? I say this to you because I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking surfing. Haiti has incredible surfing. So for you folks out there, Google this one when you got some time. Write that one down. Jake Marshall, who I personally know, and Carissa Moore, 3-time world champ, who I personally know, surfing in Haiti. Because they're both sponsored by Hurley, and Hurley sent them down to Haiti to go surfing. Because we don't even know that Haiti has incredible surfing. And there will be nobody from Haiti at this 2020 Olympics. That's what's going on in this world.
I was thinking about the young lady you guys mentioned from Senegal, and I was talking
what's that young lady's name?
Miss somebody.
So, Rhonda, before brother even says another word, please tell us who is Aji Song.
Aji is a 23-year-old from Gilmore,
Ooh,
Senegal.
she's legal.
Yeah, so crazy. She's in her own right. Before, I want everybody to understand it. She was already Harvey's son before she ever got to the United States. She's already been in, like, she has maybe like 3 or 4 movies that are out currently running. This is what I'm saying about the first
All right, sister, slow down. I know I gotta do it. Okay, sister, you gotta spell her name for the listener.
I do. Okay, let's go with Kadjou. Sam. SAMBE.
How'd you sound?
Smoking hot.
Right. And this is what should have been in the magazines in the first place. This is the kind of person that you wanted to have. Now that she's being seen, before I was talking to you guys, there was a film company that just did some films for Nike that called and asked if we'd be willing to go film with them. And I told them it's time to change that whole narrative. So if they do this, you'll get to see her in how in the same reflection. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to do it in the same reflection as they do these Caucasian videos, and we're going to see. We're going to see the outcome. Because before all of this, I started all of this because I couldn't get a bathing suit. This literally started because I could not get a bathing suit from Rokki that fit me. And so I started a company, a swimsuit company, and it went from Fat Fish to Equal Surf, and now Equal Lifestyle is the one that's running all of this. So literally I started because there was no imagery, and there definitely wasn't a bathing suit to fit African-American females, nor are there wetsuits to fit African-American females. Our curves are not the same as Rebecca's. Ours are different. Ours are Quanisha. Ours are, Shanice. No, it's not them. And they keep making these suits that don't fit. And so we either are going to men's suits or we're having them custom made, and they're way more expensive. And you may lose like the fact that you have a heated vest.
So I'm sorry, sister, I have to interrupt here. So what you're saying is, if we keep waiting for Europe or European Americans, we have to make our own damn suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. You're gonna lose something in it because they don't make them. I can't find a suit right now. I can't find a suit. Either it's a 14 in some craziness that is too large on the bottom, or it's a 10 that I can't fit my top in. It's craziness. They don't have them fit our body types, and it's a big issue. And the Brazilians have the same issues. And even some of these Caucasian females, they start to be built like us too. So there's a serious issue when it comes to fitting who we really are trying to set the stage for. So
and when the sister said Brazilian, I have to also include the Venezuelans.
Oh,
because for you folks out there who don't know this, the Venezuelans and the Brazilians speak Portuguese. And it wasn't up until like 12 years ago. There were more blacks in Brazil per population than any black nation on the continent of Africa.
Wow.
And yet, many of these blacks who come here, who are darker than Rhonda and myself, they come here from Venezuela, they come here from Brazil, and they don't even know they're niggas till they come here. Then they all find out who I am, because when they come to this country to compete, the only person on the beach who even talks to them from this country would be myself. But I'm sorry, Rhonda, go ahead.
I know I was somewhere. I forgot. But here's the
you were talking about those bikinis that don't fit that rear end of yours, but go ahead.
They don't. There's nothing that fits. So here we do. We have to make our own market. We have to create our own. And this is why he said, well, Mark has been saying for this whole time is that we need to step up and start filling in our own gaps with the things that we need. Creating hair care products is one of the biggest conversations that the girls had. I was on the beach with when we were doing our filming for Facebook, was the fact that none of us can agree on what hair product to use. Some of us have 4C. There's some biracial hair in there. It's all of a mixture, but it all comes out the same. Is that there's a need, there's a challenge that we all need to start facing, and that's like if we want to see this move and progress, we all have to individually invest in ourselves. because the other companies don't see it. And like this past ad, and I hate to do this, but it was a good one. But the past ad that I did for Facebook, it says you can't be it if you can't see it. And the only way they're going to be able to see it is you guys keep passing around imagery. So go on our Facebook pages or go on our IG and pass those images around, because unless there's a need, unless they see that we're here and they're in numbers. Literally, the Nike commercial called me and asked me how many black people there were. They asked me for an actual number, which I laughed, but because I thought it was funny. Because I said to the guy, he said, well, how many black surfers are there? And I said, what black are you talking about? Are you talking about African-American black, Afro-Latino? I mean, where are we going? Afro-Asian, because we're everywhere. And this is what he said. This is the guy for Nike. He said, I hadn't thought about that. They had to go back to the drawing board. So, they don't consider it. And it's time for us to consider ourselves. Otherwise, we can't push these athletes to the next level, which is the reason why I'm here, is to get these people seen and to the next level.
And what the sister just alludes to, I'll give you a good example. 3 years ago, there's a magazine called Surfer's Journal. They try to be like this eclectic, intellectual surfer magazine. It's a little bit overpriced. They do more stories away from the professional surfing and more about surfing around the world and being some, bodhisattva or whatever. And there was a guy, I know he meant well, but he wrote an article from Charleston, South Carolina, and he's going on and on and on, and he talks about how finally blacks entered the water in 1990s in South Carolina. And I was sorry, but I had to burst his bubble, and I sent him a little Facebook message. And I go, that's interesting, because here's a photograph of me on the College of Charleston Surf Club team in 1978. So I don't think blacks started entering the water in South Carolina in the 1990s. I say this to you because when Rhonda talked about how we have to get away from the surfing media if we want to rely on getting some exposure out there as far as people of color. We have people of color from countries like Venezuela, Brazil. I mean, we've already alluded to Anali Gomez, and that's why I was with Team Peru, because I love Anali and Melanie Gaunta and Leilani Aguirre, and Leilani had a sister on the Peruvian team. Plus, I was with little Daniela Rosas during the Supergirl Pro, so I came out to give Daniela Rosas some love in the World Junior Games. We have people of color in so many countries that are surfing, and it's so sad that folks like Jacqueline Silva, Nali Gomez, and others have formed their own surfing organization down in South America because they've given up on getting any recognition up here.
But that's a cultural thing. Just because up here they're still having to compete against little Becky Blue Eyes. Like the money's there, right? For the sponsorship.
Money's there. This is a multi-billion. This is like a $40 billion industry. Money's there.
So the money is there, but let me tell you what's typical, okay? I'll have a young lady who's an incredible person. No drama. None of the young ladies who I've worked with have ever been someone who caused embarrassment to the surfing community. But we have young ladies who are incredible surfers and can hold their own against the guys. Straight A students. And I can't get them sponsors. And then you got some little 6-year-old snotty ass spoiled white boy, and he's got sponsors all over his board because that's who they're sponsoring. That's what I'm dealing with. I've already alluded to the fact that Tessa Tyson lost her sponsor because she didn't show her ass enough. 2018, misogyny. That's what I'm dealing with. So they got sponsors out there. But these sponsors are deciding that they're going to, and I'm not going to take us down that rabbit hole, but I will just say this, that when Rhonda and I have our personal conversation, we know the Me Too movement needs to look at the surfing industry. And I'll just leave it at that.
And wow. Being a father, I got 4 children, 3 of which are girls, I would just love for them to be able to experience surfing, underneath the right conditions, obviously.
Well, you should be having a problem because let me just tell you the typical. Roxy is like the biggest name in surfing for women. Now, Roxy is a subsidiary of Quicksilver. Quicksilver has gone way down the tube because guess who used to be sponsored by Quicksilver? Kelly Slater. And if you look at the Quicksilver logo, all it is a Roxy logo. The Roxy logo is a Quicksilver logo put next to a Quicksilver logo upside down. I put photographs of Roxy girls, because I know lots of them, all over the Roxy site. They don't give a damn. You know why? Because all they care about is selling Roxy clothing to young ladies in Missouri and other places in the Midwest who will never go to the ocean but want to look cool wearing surfer girl clothes. So even Roxy, that's supposed to be a sponsor of women surfing, they're more into selling their clothing to people in places that will never go to the beach but will spend lots of money to look cool by wearing Roxy clothing. That's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah, they also have this deal called Salt Life. Salt Life is like stickers and all that. Every other vehicle out here, middle of the woods.
Hey, Rhonda, you know who's involved in Salt Life?
No.
Okay, how do I say this delicately here? About 4 years ago, here's one for you folks to Google. Google twerking. The twerking female surfer.
What?
I'm at the Supergirl Pro down in Oceanside, and there's a young lady who always comes next to me before she goes out in the water because she knows I love the women, my agape love, and she knows nobody's going to mess with her while she's on the beach standing next to me. So she puts her headphones on, and she's in her own little zone, and she starts twerking. And that went viral. Her name is Anastasia Ashley. And you'll see me sitting next to Anastasia, trying to keep a straight face and look her straight ahead, while Anastasia is doing all these funky moves next to me. That's who's involved with Salt Life that Patrick just referred to. Anastasia recently was in that show. I guess they had that extreme. You know how they had that one show, Survival, on TV?
Oh, yeah.
I guess they had that one show, Extreme Survival, and last year she was in the show where she got bitten by thousands of bugs down in, I don't think it was Dominican Republic. It might have been Dominican. Wherever she was, she had to be medevaced out. So I haven't spoken to Anastasia in a while, but Anastasia is a prime example of who's an incredible surfer. Incredible surfer. But sadly, most people only know her because she posed semi-nude in Sports Illustrated Swimsuit magazine and other magazines. And I'm one of the few people that Anastasia confides in because she's really a good surfer, and people have no idea the personal tragedies she's endured in her life. They only know what the media decides to expose about her. But that's who your Salt Life girl was, Patrick. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
So traditionally now, I can't drill home this point enough that women are expected to be sexualized if they want to get ahead in the sport.
And that's why the young ladies who don't fit the profile don't get the sponsors.
That's just, it's so funny. I mean, you just don't think that's the way it is. You thought that we're past these days by now, but, I got two people here in the trenches saying, nope, we're not past them days yet.
No, you're not. And then you have to look at the industry for what it is. I mean, let's just, in all seriousness, let's just break this down because it really has nothing to do with athleticism. The entire business is health, beauty, and fitness. I mean, that's, and fashion. All of those are in, every single one of those are about the image. I mean, you have to go in this with a little bit of knowledge of knowing that some of this is going to be exploited at some period of time. It's up to you on whether you can balance that, That's the thing with Hadia that I love is that even though we know that this is going to be a highly sexualized industry for her, she's still modest in who she is as a person. So individually, I think that people make that deal with the devil. I don't want to necessarily, and going into it knowing that if it's a fashion model, they're not going to be, you're not going to. If you're looking at like Oscar de la Renta, which these companies consider themselves Billabong Rock, those are the markers for the industry. So they would be like the Chanel. They're looking for the top models in their face to represent those clubs. They don't even care if those clubs can surf or not. Some of those girls can't even surf.
It's true, but it's funny. and Rhonda's talking this. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, oh look, I know Alana Black. I love Alana. Love Jackson.
Oh my God.
Alana doesn't surf much anymore. She's number 1 on the surface poll this year. Okay, I have so many photographs of Alana that I will never post. Why? Alana's a good surfer, but she generally likes to go right. Most of the photographs I've taken of her are on Huntington Beach Pier, where she's going right. So when she goes right on the Huntington Beach Pier, all I'm getting is her ass shot of her wearing butt floss, and I won't post it. I have personal surfers. I tell them, look, I'm giving you free publicity. I coach you for free. I'm taking photographs of you for free. I'm trying to put you out there so at least somebody might read it. In fact, I'll just say this, okay? I got to give credit where credit's due. The magazine's not really around much longer, but there was a magazine called WSSM out of Hawaii. They won't give me any credit, but they used to read my stuff on Facebook, and then they would interview girls that they saw me write about. I don't care about getting the credit. I want to get these girls exposed.
Right.
Surf Girl magazine out of the UK, same thing. I have young ladies, and I tell them, look, I'm giving you free coaching, and I do a lot more than that, folks. Trust me. Oh, God. These girls and their families tell me things that if I was ever some kiss tell-all, the stuff that they tell me behind the scenes about what's really going on in the surfing community, you don't even want to know. They also know that I will not post photographs of their daughters, because when I'm on that pier and they're out in the water and they're wearing that butt floss, I'm not posting it. Now, this year, finally, after all these years, Rhonda, what did the WSL do in response to making this grand announcement about photographs?
Oh, yeah, they had that. That's really the reason why I stopped even following the WSL is when the ASP, and let's be frank, ASP still owns WSL. WSL is just this may keep you from going bankrupt. So when they switched over, what they did was they told all of us journalists that at any time they had the right to come up to you, take your cards out of your camera, because any picture that you took there was the sole property of the ASP/WSL.
And what kind of photographs did they normally post?
But I mean, the body 90% of the girls' turn or photography, they had to like literally make a rule this year because it was so prevalent. 90% of the shots that go into Surfing Magazine and it's just in regular media are the bottom turns for the girls.
Okay, stop right there. So stop right there for a second. So let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Surfer Magazine just this year did an entire issue dedicated to no misogyny. All right? I was stoked. And then I went off. I didn't even get 4 pages into the magazine until I see this smoking hot female wearing butt floss, and it says, Puerto Rico as beautiful as ever.
Wow.
Okay? And I don't think I didn't write it. And don't think they don't read what I write, because I make sure they see what I write, okay? This is the crap I'm talking about. Carissa Moore. Carissa Moore is one of the sweetest young ladies I've ever known. I love Carissa. Carissa won the world, well, it's funny, Stephanie Gilmore won the world title, and then she lost to Carissa. She looked at Carissa and goes, look, I'm just lending this to you because I'm coming back and taking it next year. And she did. But what folks don't know, one of the reasons why they took it, Trans World Magazine used to be the surfing magazine. It's no longer in print, it's only on the internet. And some idiot goes, well, I don't know who Carissa Moore's trainer is, but she needs to lose some weight. And I went off. And I wrote this long diatribe about how, you know, I've trained Marine Recon, Navy SEALs, LAPD, SWAT. I've trained people you can't even imagine, State Department officials. I've been in fights you don't even want to know the fights I've been. That's why I'm so injured now. I go, there are guys who I know who look like slobs, and if you mess with them, you get your ass kicked. You don't ever judge a book by looking at the cover. And then I finished this whole diatribe by saying, all I can say about Carissa Moore is she better never go into a black club, because just like Serena and Venus, the brothers would be all over her. nobody commented on what I wrote. But since that time, you wouldn't believe how many women I've had come to me and go, "Hey, we read what you wrote about Carissa. Thank you." And what was really sad about this, because of some idiot in Trans World Surfing magazine wrote that little note about Carissa, it messed her head up so badly. For the next year, Carissa didn't post anything on her Facebook, never went on the internet, stayed in her room by herself, and she lost the world title that year.
Wow.
Then Carissa met a young man who loved her for who she was, and Carissa's so hot, okay? And met a guy who loved her for who she was, and Carissa now has 3 world titles under her belt. Okay, but what I'm saying to you, these girls take this crap seriously. And because of some knucklehead writing that crap about her in Trans World, the year after she won the world title, it screwed her up so much that she didn't even go on the internet when she was around the world tour.
You know,
and it takes somebody like myself to write about her because nobody else will. That's what I do because I don't tolerate the misogyny. But Carissa, oh my God. You look at Carissa Moore, that girl is the epitome, poster girl of what a female should want to look like. And they're trying to say that she was overweight and all this other crap. These girls starve themselves. They end up, I've got young ladies, I'm never going to say their names because I know stuff you don't even, who are anorexia nervosa because of the crap they read about them on the internet. This is what's going on in the surfing community for women.
You know, speaking
and
of,
I just hope that maybe when I talk to them, they listen to me, and I just want them to go out there and be who they are, surf the best they can, and kick these other people's ass.
Now, would either one of you two coaches have an issue with a transgender male trying to become a female surfer?
Asshole.
I know it's an uncomfortable question, but would you guys have a problem with that? Would you accept him or her, whatever, as a female?
I don't have a problem because I just want to coach him.
Okay. What about you, Rhonda? Hello? Uh-oh.
Did we lose Rhonda?
No, here I am.
Oh.
No.
I like that. Okay, hang on, Rhonda. Since I went first, let me answer. Okay, all seriousness, I don't give a rat's ass what your religion is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a rat's ass what your ethnicity is. I don't give a rat's ass what your damn gender is. All I want you to do is go out there and surf to your best ability. This is the only problem or issue I have with this program. I know in track and field there are people who consider themselves identified as male, but they know that they stand less of a chance of doing well against other males, and suddenly they say they feel as if they're a woman, and then they compete against the women and then end up getting a medal. That's the only issue I have. Other than that, I have no issue.
That's reasonable.
Okay, so let me come from this background. As the leader here in San Jose of the Black LGBT
you're LGBT and I'm talking to you? I'm out of here.
leaders in this city, I would have to say unequivocally that I wouldn't have a problem with it because I don't see people I see people for who they are. Right. I don't need to judge you. Just like I get judged every single day. Why would I do that to somebody else? Would I coach them? Of course I would. Same as just the same as I would coach a black straight male. So,
there it is.
If people are going to attach labels to whether or not their abilities in the water are based on just that, then you have no sport. You have a bunch of BS.
Right.
It seems to happen in straight male sports.
And there lies the problem, because, see, this is my thing, okay? There's a young lady, her name is Mia Collins. God, I love Mia. Mia's from Newport Beach. Know her dad, Richie, used to call him Skeletor. And Richie has 4 daughters. He threw Mia into... I've been with Mia when Mia was in a contest where 6 people are in the heat, all male, except for 1. Because her dad would put her in contest with all boys.
Wow.
And I always, in fact, I created a Facebook site. It's called Surfing a Tribute to the Women, Facebook fan page. I created that site because of Mia Collins. Now, I'm a Frog House boy. I've been with Frog House since 1982. Newport Beach. And I told folks, I go, there's always a meaning to the madness. And I go, Richie, I know a lot of people think he's hard on Mia, but putting her in contest against all boys, Mia is going to learn how to surf well. Because the day is going to come when there will be no contest that's going to be all women like the Paul Mitchell Supergirl. The day is going to come when you're going to have men and women surfing against each other in the same heat. There's a young girl, her name is Maddie Gumbrecht. She's from Huntington Beach, and I live in Hawaii. I go to school in Hawaii. And I went down to a contest that was put on by the Calvary Chapel Surfing Association. And Maddie was in the heat with all boys. And Maddie was like, seriously, this girl was like nervous. You can't even imagine. And she didn't know I was going to be there. I just happened to show up. And I walked out on the beach and I looked at Maddie. I go, Maddie, listen to me. Sometimes the best man for the job is a woman. Take your little white ass out there and show me you can surf against these boys. Maddie just, and I made sure that wasn't around here. Because, yeah, I'm hard on these girls. So I was like, take your little white ass out there and show me you can surf just like these boys and better. So Maddie looked at me and she's like, okay. And she was really nervous, right? Guess who won the heat?
She did.
She won the heat. Only because there was somebody on the beach that made her believe in herself. I don't give a rat's ass what you call yourself. My only concern is I don't like the fact that there are some people who may try to manipulate and take advantage of the system.
I see what you're saying.
That's my only concern. My only concern is there's some guys who know they're guys and are 100% guys, but they know if they claim to be women that day, by changes in society, somebody will not deny them the opportunity to surf against a woman right now. Until we make the policy where there is no male, female, but it's all surfer kind of thing.
Right.
And I think that's another reason why I'm saying Kelly Slater is so ahead of his time, because here's the one thing about the Kelly Slater wave. It doesn't matter who you are, everybody's going to get the same exact wave. And I know Kelly's a visionary, and he already knows the gender will not be an issue in the surf ranch.
And is that just because of the deal with surfing? It's the person against the ocean? Yeah, I mean, it's not like football or baseball where it's your...
Oh, no, stop, brother. Listen, 2 years ago, I'm up on the Huntington Beach Pier, and somebody down, as always, some professional photographer took a photograph of me on Huntington Beach Pier, and I am going off. Why? Izzy Gomez was in this contest, U.S. Open. Molly Kirk was in this contest, U.S. Open. Molly's from Florida, Izzy's from Florida. I already told you earlier, Izzy, I helped her win 2 world titles in stand-up paddle. They were not scheduled to surf until like 3 o'clock. The waves were so bad at Huntington Beach, they took all the male men, not juniors. This is the male men out of the water and put the female juniors in the water. And I'm like, wait a minute. These are guys, strong guys, much better body strength. Some of these guys were on the world tour. If you're telling me these waves suck so badly that these men can't surf in it, why would you make girls who are still under 18 and the juniors go out and surf? And I went off. And the reason I went off, the girls were not scheduled to surf until 3 o'clock. That means, had they not been at the beach when they called them into the water, they would have missed their heat and they would have been out of the contest when they weren't even scheduled to be there for 2 more hours. Wow. And somebody took a photograph of me going off. What am I saying to you? And I know Rhonda backed me up on this. This is typical of surf contests. When there's a surf contest that involves both men and women competing in the same contest, the men get the best waves, the women get the shitty waves.
By default, just so we can point the finger. See, those chicks, they couldn't surf. Is it somewhere like that? Or they're just being douchebags?
Rhonda, you have to answer that one. Well, let me start. Let's go back to because I don't give a shit. Okay, and hang on, let me take another little sip before. So here's the thing, okay? We had the Vans U.S. Open this year. Perfect example. The Vans U.S. Open, it's a world tour event for the women, but it was a qualified series event for the men. And so this was the first time. I was very impressed and proud of it, but I mean, we're running out of time. They didn't run the women until Thursday because they wanted the waves to be good for the people who were actually on tour. What I'm saying is, in the past, unfortunately, when it's an event where, and I'm glad there's a female who's now the CEO of the WSL, because this is the first time I've seen this happen. Normally in the past, as I described 2 years ago, if they know the waves are good, generally the men get the waves when the waves are good, and when they think that the waves are going to be bad based on surf line trajectory, that's when they put the women up there. Come on, Rhonda. Come on, you know. Am I lying?
That's a fact. No, it's a fact. Women do get the crap waves.
And
it's just the way it happens. And I don't understand it. I mean, you know, this year, they've been included into Mavericks, but for the most part, it's been
stop! You keep doing this. All right, folks, listen to me. I've done some crazy things in my life. Okay, now Peter Mel, he's from Santa Cruz. His nickname is Condor. My nickname used to be Brown Condor, but mine was based on the movie 3 Days of a Condor because of my background. Anyway. Peter Mel, he won the Big Wave World Championship. I think it was back in 2012. Might have been, yeah, I think it was 2000. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Anyway, he only had a few T-shirts made. I'm one of the few people that was given one of his T-shirts. Okay, so I know Peter Mel. I know Peter and John, and his wife Tara, and all. Santa Cruz, those surfers are hardcore. And they have Mavericks. Now, Rhonda just throws this term out there. Rhonda, you have to remember, a lot of these folks don't have a clue to what we're talking about. So please, Rhonda, now slow down and take your time and explain to them what Mavericks is.
You there, Rhonda?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So Mavericks is up in Half Moon Bay. It's about 20 miles from where I am, Northern California, and it was supposed to run today. And the contest normally doesn't even run if the waves aren't 25 feet, but they were supposed to be 50 today, so they call the contest off. So this is a big wave.
Okay, hold on. Now, for you folks who don't know this, as I'm talking to you and Rhonda, about 10 hours ago, the waves out of San Francisco were 80 feet high. No. But I'm sorry, Go ahead, Rhonda. Yeah,
that's how big they get up there. And although there's no such thing as climate change or whatever. For some reason, we're about to have some side adventures going on in the Bay Area where the waves are so big. Like, I haven't seen them this big. Even our place that usually is, you know, a good 4 or 5, maybe a good 6 at max, is like 10, 18 right now. So, I mean, it's just a huge storm coming through the Pacific right now, and it's happened to land in our area. And they had to call the contest off today because the waves are too big. They had them scheduled in at 50, but my saying is they are measuring them at 80. But yeah, there's no climate control here.
Oh my God.
So what Rhonda didn't tell you is that Mavericks is one of these waves. It's called a big wave. Now listen, I've always told women never let anybody stand in the rear of your dreams. But I'm a hypocrite, okay? I've got a young lady out of Australia who now doesn't surf any shortboard. All she does is longboard. I mean, not longboard, big waves. Laura Enover, love you, Laura. So Laura is the adrenaline junkie I used to be when I did all the crazy stuff. Laura is skinny, frail, the typical white, blonde, blue-eyed, the model type Billabong girl, but Laura is an adrenaline junkie, and now she's doing big waves. My French girl, Justine DuPont, she's kind of gotten away from short boards and also long boards and stand-up paddle. She does everything, but she likes big waves. And even Rhonda doesn't know this. The one Brazilian female who I've had a crush on for more than 15 years that everybody knows in the surfing community is Silvia Nabuco. Oh, my God. Sylvia's a big wave rider. Then I've got a young lady from the Bay Area. Her name is Bianca Valenti. Bianca Valenti and several other women had to file a lawsuit against the World Surf League because women were not allowed to surf at Maverick for the contest. I commend them for what they do, but I have to be the first one to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with it, because I know if something was to seriously happen to one of these women in that contest, it's going to be a woman who I personally know, and I'm trying to brace myself, and I ask God to help me to deal with it, because I'm really worried that one of the young ladies who I know who had to fight and won to allow women into this contest is probably going to get hurt, because there have been, Rhonda will tell you this better than anybody else, we've had a lot of male surfers, top male surfers from around the world who have died at Maverick.
Oh, yeah. Jay Moriarty is the one that's... Michael Holmes, the other one. I mean, these are like prominent people, you know, in the surf industry who lost their life at Maverick. So now you have people like Keala Kinley out of Hawaii who's been big wave surfing for years. Keala Kinley was like, when I first put this is my black website, right? The very first person to put on my site for girls was Keala Kinley. She's like the blackest thing in surfing right now. Like, that's because she's blonde hair and green-eyed out of Hawaii. So, I mean, but her spirit and how she is and how she carries herself, I used to call her the black girl. But,
yeah, she don't tolerate any misogyny.
I saw this girl go through so many phases when she was sponsored. She was sponsored big time by Billabong. She was fully sponsored. I mean, the girl is a phenomenal surfer. Every year she won the Billabong Big Wave Award. I mean, it was like year after year. And I think Jamila Starr finally won one year. And I mean, that was just because Jamila actually paddled into a 25-foot wave. I mean, most of these people they don't paddle into them, they get towed into it. So Maverick is another one that you have to
Now, before you go on, let me just make a correction, because I know Rhonda was excited when I said this, because she mentioned Michael Hole. Michael Hole is fine. He's not.
No, not Michael Hole. What is it? What's the other one? It's one of the Holes.
But we've had...
Guy at Maverick.
What I would say is this, for you folks out there who want to do some research, just Google, because there's actually a movie that came out called Searching Maverick.
Oh my God, don't tell him about that movie. Oh my God. That's like saying beat break and bingo. Wait
a minute, have you been drinking on beat?
No, you are tripping. Don't go looking at that movie. Like, just look it up. It's a whole other that
you gotta start them off easy, Rhonda. I mean, for you and me with our backgrounds, it's pure entertainment. But for them to get an idea what Maverick can do and the power, it's not a bad movie for an introduction. Don't take it as a historical documentation, but yeah, you know. And oh, by the way, and he's dead. Now I will say he didn't die at Maverick. He died from a diving incident later on. But Maverick, let me put it this way, folks. I've done shit you don't even want to know what I've done. In fact, Peter Mel, who I mentioned earlier, he walked up to me on the beach one day and he goes, you know, with your LAPD background, your Marine Corps background, you've done shit I would never dream of. And I look at Peter Mel, I go, dude, you're a big wave rider. You've done shit I would never do. Maverick is no play. Seriously.
Where's the place on the planet with the biggest waves? I thought it was Hawaii that had.
Well, not the biggest waves, because I can take you down off the coast of Mexico down here in Cortez, and the waves get up to like 110, 150.
Holy crap!
You can go to Nazarene right now.
There it is.
I mean, that's as big as it's going to get. Is Nazarene. I don't even know what that's going to. And then you look at a wave at Nazarene, even a lighthouse looks like it's miniature.
But I'm just telling you, I would not even dream of getting in the water at Maverick. That's what I'm just telling
you. You can get in a boat and get on Maverick. That's what
I wouldn't get in a boat at Maverick.
Listen. You got to truly experience Maverick. When I was covering the ASC, I was in that box today, that little wave system. And it rolled right underneath our it shook the box that we were in. And that's why they stopped having, because they used to have the contest like right on the beach. And 1 year,
how many people died watching that motherfucker on the rocks? But I'm sorry.
But this rogue wave came in and swept everybody out into the ocean. And there was a couple of lost dogs and some broken legs. I'm not real sure. But just watching it come in, you could tell the strength. And see, Maverick isn't a wave that breaks on shore. Maverick breaks way the hell out there, like a quarter of a mile out, and it breaks way out there. So imagine the water coming in from that wave breaking. That's just the water that rolls up on the beach. And if it's strong enough to knock some people off the beach and drag you back into the ocean, that's a pretty strong wave. So when you say there's a woman surfer out there, we don't joke around and go, oh, she's a female surfer. That's an actual warrior, because nobody's going to go out there in their right mind. And she's not the only one. There's Jamstar, there's Sarah Gerhardt, there's Bianca Vinicius,
Gaia Gabriella.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I can know. Yeah, I was just naming the ones who I personally know, and they know I'm so scared that something's going to bad happen to them. But they're not listening to me. They're following their dreams, and I can't give them a hard time for it. But I just know that I'm going to have a hard time. I'm going to be fucked up. I'm going to be really fucked up if one of them gets killed, because I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Well, here's my thing. It's like us going into the military. Like, they know what they're getting into. Like, my friend is whining about being a cop. You know what I mean? I'm like, stop whining. You signed to be a cop. Right here. So I got out of the military and I came home. I ain't crying. Okay, just stick it out. You know what I'm saying? But these girls know what they're getting themselves into. It's not like they don't know. And everybody treated like, no, don't do that, because they don't want to. If they did, they wouldn't. If they wanted you to treat like that.
So for all you folks out there who still want to look. So for all you folks out there who still want the blonde hair, blue-eyed babe, just Google Laura Enever, because she's a big wave. Because she's a big wave surfer. What I'm saying is, these folks don't get it. She's a big wave surfer, but they don't give her the respect for her, because they still look at her as the bingo bimbo, and she's not. This girl is serious.
They try to do that with Jamstar. Give me the star, they did the same thing. They always need somebody. And the thing I love about Kiala is Kiala didn't conform. She started out where you could see it, where she was starting to, and then you could see it. You could literally see it visually. You could see her fight with the industry over image and who she really was.
Hell yeah.
And just said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself and do what I got to do.
She always wore a better high and tight than I did.
She's an amazing surfer, no matter what gender she is, no matter who she is.
And what I like about her, she don't take no shit from anybody.
Yeah, she's like me. She don't take no shit from anybody. And she showed them what it becomes in this industry. So whenever I'm talking about the female surfers, I'm always talking about them with the utmost respect, because none of these girls have to be gobbling out of the water. And all these girls that go out here, with the exception of people like Alana Fletcher, but even get in the water.
I just want to throw this out here into the universe, and maybe this will facilitate something. But Akon is from the same country as your surfer that you're grooming to go to the.
And I'm sorry, host. What is that surfer's name?
Her name.
Would you like us to remind you of what her name is?
Sure, absolutely.
Please, Rhonda, give him the honors.
How'd Samba. I'm so hard. I hate brutalizing people's names, but if we can somehow link Akon up with her, they're both countrymen from the same country. Maybe he can throw some financial love into the pot to make this thing happen.
Well, he could. And what we're doing is like we're holding off until she's out of this ocean, especially, to really start searching for sponsors. But Akon has been on the list since we started working with Sierra Leone. We were going to work with him to put lights out of the beach. So I'm getting a contingency of surfers put together before I present them to Akon, because I think he really could sponsor them under his lighting company. I do think that's a viable and reasonable person to attach to any of the surfers in West Africa.
Yes.
With keeping Hajim in mind, first of all, because she's a countryman.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been considered. He's one of the ones on the list.
That's awesome. I mean, this would be so amazing, if this all comes to fruition. I mean, I don't know too much about her homeland, the country itself, I need that.
Senegal?
Yeah, I'm going to do research on Senegal.
You mean the country that I told you 2 weeks ago to do some homework before you talk to me again?
You have been putting the homework on me so thick.
Anyway, Ron, you have to understand, I'm just messing with him. Because see, this is what the brother did to me back in a few months ago. He called me up at home like we're having a conversation, right? So he didn't tell me we're on the fucking radio live.
I was drunk, Rhonda.
Anyway,
Rhonda, I was drunk. I was hammered.
No, that's my line. You're supposed to be smoking the blunt, man, blazing it up. But anyway, so here's the thing, okay? I came on this show today with Rhonda because we're talking about our sister from Senegal. But here's the thing, okay? Seriously. I've been mentioning the movie Endless Summer several times. And I just couldn't help but laugh when I saw the brother, little boy, like 12, 13 years old. They gave him the surfboard over there on the continent of Africa, and they were shocked because this brother, on his first time trying to catch a wave, he rode the wave. I keep things simple. Now, O'Neill, the founder of O'Neill, died recently. And there's still a lot of argument about who came up with the neoprene and the wetsuit. All I tell you is that anything you guys have, we in the U.S. Armed Forces, whatever other agencies I work for, we had it before you got it.
True.
And wetsuits didn't come around until World War II. The development of wetsuits didn't come around until World War II. All European countries, you can't surf in those waters because it's too bloody cold.
Right.
So let's use logic. Let's just be realistic here. So where the hell do you think waves would break where people would be able to surf before wetsuits came around?
It
would be in warmer climates. So trust me, folks. The first queen of Africa. The first queen of Hawaii was a black woman, a black Polynesian. The U.S. government took over that government, and now we own Hawaii. That became a 51st state in 1958. I'm sorry, the 50th state in 1958. Black Polynesian. Folks, here's a wake-up call. Well, these white boys and Endless Summer sitting here like all shock and awe about a black boy surfing on the continent of Africa. There was Africans who were surfing long before the Europeans knew about it. So having said that, and I know that my U.S. Coast Guard female friend is listening, tell us about the colonialism and Europeans going to the continent of Africa, discovering surfing and bringing it back to Europe and the United States.
Oh, they were still colonists. We already knew that they were surfing in Africa. It was recorded in 1854. So
you hear that, folks? 1854 on the continent of Africa.
And it was very descriptive because it was a captain and he was using his logs. As he was logging in, he was talking about men sliding across the waves on boards as if they were floating on air. So you already know that's surfing. So even before he started bringing that mess over here to the United States from Hawaii, it was already being done over there on the continent of Africa. Now, where we are with the Senegal thing and Endless Summer, which I cannot stand, this colonist revision of whatever, and they had to never go back and do it twice. Let me put it to you like this: this is the Paramount movie of the surf industry. This is like every year when the Moses and the Ten Commandments come out. Everybody's got this is like whatever Easter movie they have. Here comes Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of movie. And this is like the Holy Grail. That's the most racist thing you ever seen. Like, I don't even know why. You can tell why the surf industry is the way it is. But let me put it in this context. I've seen the movie, right? I was 13, but I'm not from that country. So when Hunter got here and I put that movie on, that movie wasn't the first. Now in the movie, the first place the little airplane fly to, they back and forth, got the little suit tie on, get a little plane. They fly. They showed a little graphic. They were flying right to Senegal. I just got to the point where they got the board in the taxi, and she was done already. She was like, take it out, and wouldn't watch that movie any further. So that ought to tell you how offensive this movie is to the people of Africa. but it is the holy grail of what the surf industry thinks they are here in the United States.
Wow.
That's
So, for you folks who are listening, because I know you folks are listening, you know, guys like Spike Lee and some other colored folks out there in the Hollywood community, it's time for you all to step up and expose that the fact that we got some Negroes out there that have been surfing since 1854 at least, and you guys are sitting on the sidelines doing not a damn thing, and it's just a matter of time before some white person who's listening to the show tonight takes advantage of this and goes, "Hi, Rhonda. Hey, Michael, you know, we were like interested in doing some research in black surfing," and they're going to take it over.
You know it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It'd be Black Panther #2. You know, people want to know about us.
Rhonda. See, okay, now he's starting to piss me off because he's messing with me, okay? Rhonda, if you don't know this, Black Panther was stolen from Wesley Snipes.
That's what I heard.
He proposed that in 1994, and they told him, "Oh, Hollywood was never accept some black Marvel superhero."
Yes.
I remember that. I remember.
So go ahead, brother. Continue. Go ahead. I've already cut myself off now.
We literally call black girl surf like doing much. Like that's who we are.
So when do I get my black girl surf T-shirt?
Next time I see you, I carry them in the car with me all the time.
You have my address. You don't have to see me.
Listen, I tell them
Can you send me an old man size?
Oh man.
I think I got.
Because I mean, and I want one in pink because a real man has no problem wearing pink. No, you don't have to put it in pink. Send me my old man size so I can piss them off the way I do when I wear my Black Service Collective T-shirt out here because they're like,
let me tell you, a black girl surf T-shirt. They probably won't. They'll probably ask you for it because literally I've been inside of a surf shop with my shirt on and the owner have bought the shirt. Like they're like,
he didn't want the shirt. He was looking at your tits.
Let me get a hat. No, it was a girl. It was a girl's shop.
She was looking at your tits.
No, everybody ain't got to be looking at everybody's tits on it.
Yeah, no. Well, it's a sister, hey, dude. It's a sister, man, dude. So let me tell you, brother. So let me tell you what happened at the World International Surfing Association Junior Championship. Okay? Now, she ignored me, blew me off at the Supergirl, right? Because I know she's still like, I don't know, I can't trust this brother, man. I think he's supposed to be. So she comes up, so all of a sudden she acts like she just happened to be standing on the beach. Now, she doesn't come and say hi to me. She just stands behind me and looks off in the distance like, well, let's see if this nigga's gonna even notice, right? So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she looks at me like, who the fuck is he talking to me? I'm like, listen, I done told you don't stand near me because they'll use one drone to take both of us out at the same time. Will you fucking move over there? And then she realized I know who she was. But I'm like, she can't be in the same room with me at the same time because they will take us both out with one drone. I want this motherfucker to use at least 2 drones to take us out, okay? And then so now I'm on the beach with her and I take some photographs of, the princess of Senegal. And do you know this white woman had the nerve to come up to her and go, do you know him?
She did. That's what she said.
No way.
Oh, I'm serious.
Yeah, she did. And then she wanted me to introduce her to him. It was that was a weird experience. I did.
Wow.
That's like one of the weirdest ones I had. She's like, do you know him? I was like, yeah. She's like, I see him all the time. I go, you want me to introduce you? And I introduced him. I was like, it turns out that they really did need to be introduced because she's the head coordinator for the virtual games, which is the ISA game.
Well, not only that, when she read my business card and realized that I was a high-ranking Marine Corps officer, all of a sudden now she's acting like, oh, okay, well, he's one of the good niggas. Okay.
So, you tell anybody in the military, whatever, they'd be racist. Surefire shit. Well, listen, when I live in a country, I live in an all-white Mexican city. I'm like one of 10 blacks in the entire town. And the only way I could get you down, without a whole bunch of crap is where my veterans of the United States Coast Guard at. Just go straight as possible.
No, it's true.
Around with these people.
I go to all-white hockey towns and shit, and they look at, what the fuck this nigga doing here? And then they find out I'd be an LAPD cop, a Marine. They asked me to fuck their wives, man. I'm like, what the hell? You Billy Bob?
This is when interview goes downhill.
This is where our interview goes down here. No, but it's true. I'm serious. It's true. It's really sad. But then I have to say that all changed when the Negro got elected to the White House.
Didn't it? Didn't it though? Didn't it?
And that's why I don't go to honky tonks anymore. I don't go to rodeos anymore. In fact, we just had this shooting out here in Borderline. I used to go there on Wednesday night, but thanks to Obama getting elected, and I realized they show their real colors. I wasn't there on a Wednesday night when that shooting happened. When that shooting happened in Vegas, I would have been there. But after Obama got elected, I don't go to that stuff anymore. When I saw how Nevada disrespected Obama, I don't go to Nevada anymore.
Not even to gamble? I'm just playing.
Nope. Why would I give him my money? In fact, for you folks, since we don't talk politics tonight, let me just give you an idea about Trump. I used to go to Gillies. Now in Gillies, they had a thing, you cannot take photographs. I was the only person who used to take photographs in Gillies all the time. And Gillies was in the Frontier Hotel. Now they shut Gillies down, tore down the Frontier Hotel, and gave the property to Donald Trump because he's big friends with Steve Wyatt or what was his name?
Steve Wynn.
Yeah, him, the corrupt guy. Who all of a sudden is quiet. No, the corrupt guy who's quietly disappeared as the Republican National Committee. Anyway, my point to you is this: if you guys don't think Donald Trump is a criminal, when they built that Trump thing in Vegas, there is no casino there because he is so dirty that the gambling industry in Vegas would not give him a license to hold a casino there.
Wow.
You check that out.
There
is no casino at the Trump Towers in Vegas. That's how dirty he is. That's who your president is. I just call a spade a spade. So I know Rhonda is saying that's when the interview goes downhill, but no, seriously. But it's one of those things where we've seen the industry change a lot. When I say the surfing industry has changed a lot in recent years, and I'm so happy this year that women now are finally getting paid parity, at least on the DT tour. Next year is going to be a very interesting year. For example, I already alluded earlier that the Advanced U.S. Open is the largest contest on the planet. It will not be a world tour event for the women. It's going to be a qualifying series for both the men and the women. And because men and women will be parity now, it will be a 10,000 point event for both men and women. So many of the surfers who I've coached from other countries who never got invited to that because that's a North American event will probably now have a good chance of surfing that contest. So this coming U.S. Open should be the most interesting for me because I've been coaching young ladies from the United States in the juniors. But I've not had, except for a couple of girls, I'm not going to name it tonight, but a couple of girls from other countries I've surfed and coached with, mentored them. If this becomes a 10,000 point event for the women in 2019, that's going to be a great start. What you're seeing is going to be a lot of drama and politics within the surfing community because as we get closer and closer to the 2020 Olympics, there's going to be a lot more political backstabbing, a lot more drama. So for you folks listening tonight, pay attention to Rhonda, Harper, and the young lady from Senegal who she's working with, because we do have some black folks out there from other countries that may be on Olympic teams, but they're not conscious black. So please be out there to support. I mean, our young lady is not from the U.S. She's not representing the U.S., but she's real. Right. She has integrity. She has no drama. She's not embarrassing her country of Senegal, and she's not embarrassing the United States country. She doesn't embarrass Rhonda, and she doesn't embarrass me. So all the joking aside tonight when I was talking all this crap, seriously, if there's a young lady I strongly recommend that you follow, it's the young lady who Rhonda's working with right now. And so for our host, and what is that surfer's name, sir?
Alcohol's a hell of a drug. I call her Miss Simba. I call her Miss Simba. I have trouble with her first name.
Enlighten her name. Enlighten the audience and the host again, Ron.
Haju Shum.
And please spell that.
AMBC.
I've worked with a lot of folks, okay, and I've worked with a lot of women. I met her for the first time during the World Junior Championships at Huntington Beach. And this young lady was so humble. And she has this Mahalo spirit. For you who don't know, on surfing, we had talked about the Hawaiians with the Mahalo spirit that's always just giving out love. She's real. She's legitimate. And the only saddening thing about that whole experience was at the time she was injured. So Rhonda, please just tell them what's her status right now with her physical injury.
So she's in her second month of having a fractured foot. She surfed on it 2 weeks ago down in Los Angeles, and it's still not 100%, but it's better than it was when she first injured it. She injured it when I allowed her to go skateboarding for the first time. The skateboard popped up and fractured the top of her foot. So she's been in a boot for 6 weeks, and she's been out for 2 weeks. So we're just now rehabbing her. In fact, she has an MRI on the 19th. We will know further after that. But she's scheduled to go home on the 10th of January.
Wow. So, like your feet, obviously in surfing, you just said, it's all about balance. So that injury, could be a big deal then in her performance.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And it affects it. It affects how she surfs. I've already, that's why we went, we had this filming with NBC, and I could see it from the beach that it was still irritated. I can tell by her stance and how she comes off a wave, if her foot is hurting or not. And then, of course, she tries to hold it in until we get home, and she's limping all over the place. But, yeah, I can tell. As her coach, I can tell in her performance which way her foot is going. I'll just ask her later on, because she's not going to tell me. And I go, your foot hurt? And she goes, yeah. So that's where we are. But we're trying to rehab it now. She's like overcompensating on it a little bit. I got her on a rebalance board so we can kind of keep her muscle memory going. But staying off of it as much as possible right now. And ice and heat, that's where, just getting it rehabbed.
Now, does she have a GoFundMe so people may be able to help, with her medical bills if she needs any help with that?
Her GoFundMe is attached to Black Girl Surf. It's the GoFundMe / Black Girl Surf. And we actually pay. This is the best thing a trainer can do if they have somebody in their that's living in-house with them. Always purchase insurance for the athlete.
Yes.
The $50 that you pay or whatever the deductible is after that is a lot better than paying like this will be her second MRI on Wednesday. And she's seeing a specialist, a podiatrist that knows she's an Olympic athlete. So if I had made that conscious decision, because she is covered under the WSL, but it would have had to happen while she was at a contest, and then that insurance would have kicked in. But to have traveler's insurance on your athlete is the best thing because it kicks in, and then you can always extend it. She was only supposed to be here until November, and we were able to extend it until she was in January. So she's covered as far as her insurance is concerned, and that was a blessing for everybody around her.
That is great.
But yeah,
foresight.
If you want to pay into her trainers and her coaches, she's got 3 other coaches that are coming out. That GoFundMe, we've done amazing things through that account, and we were able to get her here with her ticket, her accommodations, all being paid for. She came here with absolutely. This girl is so courageous. She got on a plane with absolutely no money, but she had. This is so strange. She came with no money. I didn't hear about it until 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know, but she came with gifts. I've never heard or seen anybody do something like that. She literally came with half a suitcase full of gifts for me and my family, which was amazing. But she didn't come with any money. So I just think this has been an amazing experience for all of us around. And I hope it's a learning experience for athletes out there that are listening and coaches that are listening and just people in general, that if somebody has their mindset to do something, they're going to do it. I had my mindset to do what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing it. I woke up and I have no regrets. I have hard days, but no regrets. She did the same thing. She flew all the way across 6,000 miles with not a penny in her pocket. Her SIM card is for Africa, so either way, she wouldn't be able to call me. if anything would have happened to her, she just came on faith alone.
Right. What a courageous young lady. Courageous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know grown men that wouldn't make that journey. You know,
I went to LA. I went to LA during a storm, during a winter storm, and it was flooding. LA was flooded, literally flooded. And I had to go, and there was a Soul Train Awards. This is why I love it so much. There was a Soul Train Awards going on. And I was backstage in Patty LaBelle's dressing room. And I told her what happened, like how I got there. And she was like, girl, if you went through all that and you're here backstage, then you should be here. And that's how I look at Hodges. If Patty LaBelle can tell me that, Hodges just flew 6,000 miles.
With nothing but a dream. See, this is what I'm talking. What if somebody back home would have told her, no, girl, you can't do that. You can't go over here with nothing.
Exactly. And the thing that I love about her family is they trusted me enough to send their oldest child across the water, people that she don't know, and their life and their career literally is in that person's hands. So in that, I thank the parents, because that even gives us both more motivation. She knows that, you know, she has to go back with a certain mindset and the ability and the self-esteem to keep this going once she gets back to her country. She's going to open a Black Girl Surf when she gets there. She's already got one athlete that I saw. I'm getting ready to post her little picture right now. And she looks like a little Haji. I'm going to just call her little Haji. Because that's how she looks in the water, and she just started surfing. So that's her first thing when she goes back home. And the country itself is waiting for her. There were so many international incidents that went on while she was here, that when she goes home, she's going to go home larger than life, because she was able to persevere. Her own country team left her out of one of the qualifiers for the Olympics on purpose, because they didn't want her to have the limelight. And it caused an international incident. So when she goes home, she'll be the victor in that incident, and just a queen when she goes back to Senegal.
That is awesome. I mean, I'm still blown away. Just the reality, you know, being a parent, you know, sending my child to the other side, that just shows you the type of character or person that you come off as. You know, I mean, you're just not going to send your baby with just any old body, you know. And once again, you have the experience. You know, I would never even thought of the whole insurance thing. You know, I mean, really, you know, just other than basic insurance, you know, for the event or whatever. And it's all these little details, Rhonda, that put you above and beyond just a coach. You know, now you're in the mentor category, you know, where you're actually taking her underneath your wing and showing, I'm sure you're teaching her things other than, you know, obviously technique with surfing, but then things about how to manage your money, you know, because a lot of our athletes don't know how to manage that money once they get it, you know. So
I'm on her about that. I'm on her constantly. Now she asks me how much things are, because I have to explain it to her, like, because our money exchange here is different than Senegalese, where they would pay like $1.50 for a whole meal there. You know, we go to like cities and it costs you like 20 cents. You know, it's like, you're paying a lot of money. So I have to teach her those kind of things. And then I also teach her. See, what I try to do for these girls is everything. When I was 15 and I was learning to surf in the North Shore, I wanted to go pro. That's how good I was. I knew I was in the North Shore. I knew I wanted to do this. I didn't know how good I was, but I knew that I wanted to be, because I had all the surf magazines. I knew that I wanted to be this person, right? And so I tried to find people that looked like me to help me get where I needed to go, and there wasn't. So who I am is exactly who I needed, and I was upcoming, and there was no one there. So I take care of everything from sponsorship to their imaging to actually talking with the film partners, making sure that, you know, all the release forms are signed. Like I'm teaching them the whole thing. And when I see somebody in their country trying to help them, just like there's a girl over there that she was training with. She wasn't really training, but they surfed together. Her name is Marta. I love Marta now. But when she was coming, we came to head a couple of times, because what I was trying to tell Marta is, this girl is getting ready to get on a plane, on an international flight, and fly across the country. There are some things that she's going to have to learn how to do for herself. You cannot walk her into every single detail and do things for her, because even if she's not coming to the United States, she'll be going to Spain, or she'll be going somewhere in Europe. You never know where she's going to end up, because she's a competitive athlete. You can't continue to carry these girls. They have to be independent women, and they have to be strong enough to tell people no, to not, to know the dangers that are out there. She doesn't speak English. You have to be careful. There's so many things that I try to give to these girls before they go off, so they don't become lost like the rest of the girls that I see in the surf industry, where their mom just letting them run around on bikinis and hang out with their friends. Next thing you know, hooked up with some guy and they're smoking weed. Now you're not even competing no more. I mean, it's a mess behind the scenes. So I don't want my girl to go in. And Harper doesn't smoke. She just told me she's in the corner listening. She said she doesn't.
But that's
she doesn't
good.
smoke. She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. And she's a practicing Muslim. And she's very proud of those things about herself. And those things should be, and that's something that she has been in media, has been getting less and less talked about or discussed or even printed. And that's who she is. That's her identity. That's who she wants to be. Like these Christians run around here with Christian service and all this stuff. And we got all the surf media cutting out that fact when they, start doing these stories. That's who she is. That's who she wants to be. So we're very careful of who we sideline ourselves with at this point. And that's another reason why we want to go to the black media instead of the surf media, because it's understandable over here. It's not understandable over here.
Right. I'm thoroughly impressed with everything that both you and Mike have said about this young lady. I mean, just the fact that she's humble in this stage, or in this day and age where most women aren't humble, and men for that matter as well. It just shows you the character. I'm really big on the character of a person, not what you say, but what you really are on the inside. And she sounds like a super person.
Yeah, she's like, I tell her, she's like a superhero. Even when she puts on one, she's like a superhero. If they had a surfing female superhero, it'd be Audrey walking down the beach. Seriously. When she goes home, that's who she's going to be to the girls coming up. That's who she is right now to the girls coming up. We went to a brown girl surf event, and we would have thought she was like Ricky Martin or something. We got on stage, and everybody started screaming. So we know where we are. We know where our position are, and we're gonna stay. They're not anti-media, but we're not going to PDD ourselves all over the place.
Right.
We're going to be very selective in what we do, and everything that we do is going to come from the heart, not just because we want to be seen.
Now, I know this is a bit of an odd question, and I don't even know if you could possibly even achieve it, but has there been any way you was able to shield her from some of the racism she may be exposed to here in America, the United States?
I mean, we literally just went through this. Whenever we're on the beach, we're going to get hassled. It's happened every single time. And that's where surfing somewhere secluded, we're going to get hassled at the beach. It's an absolute 100% fact. Doesn't matter where we are. Somebody's going to say something, whether it's over parking or it's something, especially when you go into these little beach cities like Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is notoriously racist. And nobody can say, oh, that's a lie. No, I experienced it myself in 19, I got to be putting my age out here. But in 86, it was strong in 86. Let's just put it like that. But and so it hasn't changed in all of these years. It literally has not changed, because now in 2018 we get the same hassle that I got when I was there. It might not be so overtly. Well, I think it's overt in the way that they do it, but not just. They weren't an idiot. They're not. They're smoother now.
Right.
Before, like, not just putting "go home nigger" on the side of your car. No, it's more subtle things. Like, it's subtle things that happen, little microaggressions that happen in the water, or cutting people off. Or we were just in the newspaper last week for an incident that happened down in Los Angeles while we were filming with NBC. Somebody cut off one of our girls and grabbed her leash and grabbed her board from underneath her. Audrey was spraying and she didn't get to see it. But that was one of the things it was intentional, because he had talked to our cameraman and asked him who exactly they were filming. And when he told him, the guy went down in the water and proceeded to be aggressive. And it ended up on international news. I mean, literally, I was getting calls from Australia and the UK and Beach Grit, which is like the TMZ, not even the National Enquirer of all surfing.
That's what you get for not inviting me.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, it was supposed to be closed set, but then I invited this girl.
There ain't no closed set for me. If I had been there, the white boys would have said, "Oh, hell no, that nigga's here."
Right. They try and see that. Here's the thing: I don't want people to think like I didn't have that situation under control, because the thing is that it got caught on hot mic.
All right, well, stop that. So before you go on,
yes.
Why don't you tell them about Palos Verdes?
Okay, so because of this, and even stronger, before this incident happened in Los Angeles, I had already planned with a few other people, peace, unity, and togetherness, and little.
My Lord,
Come on.
Now we got asked to do it. We got asked to do it by the Aloha Point Surf Association, and I said yes. And they're going to do it on Martin Luther King Day. But since this is a girls' event, I decided to do it on Rosa Parks Day. And I might even move it that day, because I'm a little bit more Black Panther-ish than Rosa Parks. I might even move it to Angela Davis's birthday. I'm not real sure which one's the
I tried to get her on the show, by the way. I reached out to her. She's a professor down in Mississippi. Tried to reach out to her, and haven't gotten any response yet. I really would love to interview her.
Too strong, too black.
She was a professor right here at Santa Cruz, and I got to see her a couple of times while she was there. But I think that the way that I am and the way that my attitude is set up, I'm a little bit more Angela Davis than Rosa Parks, so we may change that date. But tentatively, it's a day for localism. It's a peace and love thing for this localism thing. And basically, all localism is colonization, recolonization of the beaches. And we're going to treat it as such.
So tell us about Palos Verdes.
So Palos Verdes, that's what I'm saying. We decided to move it. This one particular place is like the bedrock of localism. And it's been an
Okay, stop, sis. Slow down, sis. Explain to the guests, the host and the listeners, what localism means.
Localism is when people protect what they consider a break or wherever it is that they serve.
Now, so for you folks who's going off on the deep end, let me just tell you something. You got colored folks talking their bullshit. What do you think the Crips and the Bloods do?
Oh,
so we coming to my gang territory. Yep. It's the same mentality in surfing. But I'm sorry, sis, go ahead.
Yeah, the only difference is some of the dudes on the beach are mostly Neanderthals. I think these brothers over here got life and whatnot, and they're smart about it. And I think they get money. These guys are just, I don't even know who these guys.
Yeah, that's the difference. And Palos Verdes and Ranchos Palos Verdes, you're talking about white folks with
high
money. Class,
with money, acting like idiots out there over properties that they don't even own. So Palos Verdes is I didn't want to bring up the location because we have so many guests from the NBC incident, but Mark brought it up. So Lunada Bay is the location for the contest.
Yeah, folks, Lunada Bay. I know it well, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, that's these guys had literally set up, they had to go to the Coastal Commission. These guys had literally set up basically like a surf shack on the beach where they would just like launch rockets.
With their rebel flags and their Confederate flags and their Nazi flags. And
they had to fight in court. So the people that see them are people that I'm working with.
And the thing is, because of the way the beach is located, by the time you get back to your car, tires are slashed, windows are smashed.
So when we go out there, we have to go with, we have, supposedly we have the protection of the cops. Wait. And he's laughing because he knows. He absolutely knows the cops are over there in Palos Verdes. It's like the inmates watching it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why? They're the same.
Hey, we're going to stop because I know where you live, sister. That's like saying the cops in Paradise, California went out and protected the 1% blacks that live in that city.
We'll just say this. We can't depend on the cops. So I So I have to hire extra blending security.
And because you didn't invite your big brother to come down there with you.
Hold on. The invitations haven't gotten out because we're trying to solidify it with our last sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of hiring Brink security officers to come out here or undercover police, we decided to hire the Joy Market. So you won't be able to tell who.
Or instead of bringing your big brother down there who wouldn't charge you a fucking dime.
These women aren't charging me a dime.
But I understand, sis, because unlike those guys who are going to do the thing,
they know what security looks like. If you go out there with security and your security don't look like you, they know it's security. If your security goes out there and they look like you, they don't know who security is.
So, anyway, I've been on the phone for like 3.5 hours, and I gotta check it with my parole officer. But I just wanted you to know that before we get disconnected or anything, if you want to get in touch with me, I know I was using the name Michael Brown Parlor, but you guys blew my cover tonight. So if you want to send me a message, send it to Mark from Anaheim, Political Sarcasm 101 on Facebook. That's a fan page. Mark from Anaheim, Political Sarcasm 101 on Facebook. Rhonda Harper, if people wanted to get in touch with you, if they wanted to support you, if they wanted to get words of encouragement, if they wanted to tell you how grateful they are that you came on the show tonight, if they wanted to support or sponsor you, how do they get in touch with you?
Okay, here it is. And thank you for inviting me on this show. But you can get a hold of me at Rhonda, RHONDA, at Black Girl Surf. You can catch us on IG at Black Girl Surf, Facebook. I saw somebody in your group, Albert McDonald, I think, somebody just added us to the Facebook page. So thank you for that. And that's basically how you can get a hold of us. The website is down now, but we're going to relaunch it soon. And then the GoFundMe, which is GoFundMe.com/Black Girl Surf. And then the Facebook fundraiser is Black Girl Surf. And if you do Cash Apps for any of those Cash Apps, we're all on there as Black Girl Surf. If you look up Black Girl Surf, you'll find us on both the Cash Apps and PayPal.
Awesome. Also, Rhonda, I would like to invite you back, onto the show. And, definitely to talk about the surfing. But I also want to talk about, some other aspects of you as well. You have mentioned when you was 5 years old, you was handing out flyers for the NAACP. I really want to get into, the side that the people might not really know about you. When you say you're revolutionary, they may just thinking you're just being tongue in cheek. But I suspect there's a lot more.
Too black.
No.
Too strong. Too black. Too strong. Too black.
Absolutely come from a political background. I've always been here. I would love to come back on because I've been in civil rights background since I've been 5 years old. I was 5 years old when I was handing out flyers at NAACP meetings for my mom and dad. That was the vice president and president of the Kansas City chapter. And then when I was 7, I did my very first speech. It was I Have a Dream speech in front of, a couple thousand people around the NAACP meeting. So I've been, this is just in my, who I am. It's in my DNA. My parents started prison reform back in Kansas City. They're highly, respected people. I met Jordan Chisholm before I ever even went to Disneyland.
Because we all know that Hillary Clinton is the first woman to run for president in the United States. So before you go on, let me just enlighten the listeners there, okay? The first woman to run for president was back in the 1800s. White woman, and her running partner was Frederick Douglass.
Yep, I remember that.
Shirley Chisholm ran for president back in the 70s. So when Hillary Rodham Gurgen Clinton acted like she was the first woman, I couldn't help but to see, this is why I turned down that chance for a White House fellowship and a Fulbright scholarship. Because Hillary is so full of caca. But I'm sorry, sis, go ahead. I digress.
Yeah, and so those people are those are the people that I grew up around. C. Dolores Tucker, those type of people that don't even talk about anymore. And so that is why a lot of what I do is more on the political side than it is. I'm not a recreational surfer. I do that by myself. What I do over on this side is try to make a social change on this other side.
Yes.
So that's who I am. I just happen to surf.
I like that.
So, brother, if you're not listening to what we're saying, is we're not black surfers. We're surfers who just happen to be black.
Right.
Yeah.
But one thing about the surfing thing, I know we're running out of time, but I thought surfers had the deal, hang loose, be chill, like they're almost like hippies of the ocean. I mean, when you guys say these things like, you go to this certain spot to try to surf and you have these asshole surfers, that just seems so out of place with the surfing image. They're supposed to be hang loose.
That's all marketing. I mean, that's Hawaiian truck. That's Jodie Foster, but on a billboard when she was 3 years old.
Hawaiian traffic. Hey, Ron, do you remember this one? Hawaiian traffic.
Yes.
Well, you keep on looking what you did when you tan. Oh man. Oh, dude. You have to bring Hawaiian traffic up into this. In fact, the girl from
we used to have a billboard.
What was that movie? Blue Crush.
Oh, yeah.
Near People. She found me on Facebook, but Hawaiian Tropical Wonderful Waikiki Weekend. Oh, dude. You had to bring Hawaiian Tropical. That just messed up when you said that because, okay, brother, to answer your question, here's the problem. To keep surfing white, you have to eliminate a lot of white. And I already told you they're making surfing expensive.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, the greatest surfers were the ones who dropped out of class, didn't finish high school, and they were just surfing bums, but they were great surfers. They cleaned up surfing, legitimized it, and now surfing is a upper middle class white
activity
sport industry. And so what you still seeing in your mind are being eliminated because that's the only way they can keep the niggers up.
That's a tragedy.
I still have the part of the. See, when I came into surfing, right, when I was legit old enough to buy my first surfing magazine, I came in at Jeff Jacoby level, right? I came.
Oh, you're back in the Rory Russell days and the Michael Ho days and the
the Tom Currens and all that.
Yeah.
That was my era of surfing. So when I came up, this is generational, right? Because when I came up, our vernacular was like, oh my God, like Taylor and like gagging on the foot, and we really did talk. That's how we talk. Everything that we spoke, we kind of changed our vernacular over the years. So we don't have that Jeff Jacoby thing anymore because now they listen to hip hop on the beat. Before they didn't. They listen to
shit. Oh, except for the ones who think they're cool because I have a Jimi Hendrix logo on my surfboard.
Stop. It's better than an 88.
Yeah. Listen.
I have I have a Bob Marley logo on my surfboard, and I noticed Michael has dreads, so he must be a drug dealer.
Oh,
it's cool.
Yeah, the stereotypes.
Yeah, that's what we are. I mean, I was with the pop collar polo shirts and the OP short cutoffs.
OP, which stands for Ocean Pacific, but go ahead.
Yeah. Oh.
No, because a lot of these companies that were the big ones now, you don't hear about them anymore, like Caton, Britches by Caton, or Birdwell Britches. Oh, no, Canvas by Caton. Those were the ones who were out there when nobody was listening. It's like, there's a song in country music, I was country when country wasn't cool. Well, the people who were the real, the groundbreaking folks that was there for surfing when surfing wasn't cool, even they have been left behind. Ocean Pacific, nobody cares about them anymore. In fact, before it was the U.S. Open, it was the OP Pro. Nobody gives a shit about Ocean Pacific anymore. Nobody cares about Canvas by Caton. Nobody cares about Birdwell Bridges. I mean, you have to go on a special website now to get Birdwell Bridges. But and today, you were even cool if you didn't have Birdwell Bridges. So, brother, when I talk to you about this, it's not just the whole thing about Rhonda and I coming up during a certain time period. I'm turning this into what I'm telling you what's happened to surfing. They've turned it into an upper middle class white industry, and it's eliminating far more whites to keep the niggers out.
Dang. That's just so unappealing. That's just so uncool.
No, that's the way it is in everything now.
That's by design. That's
See, because it's just like welfare. People can talk the crap about welfare, and they can talk about putting the black folks' face on welfare, but far more whites are on welfare than blacks.
Right.
And they are willing to sacrifice the whites just to make sure they get rid of the blacks.
That's utterly disgusting. This is not the world I want to live in. And that's why I'm making it. I'm sorry, this is not the world I want to live in.
Hey, Rhonda, I love you and all, but my tapeworm is calling me, and because Patrick waited, and because Patrick didn't even consider doing this radio show until I said, stop calling me up and pretending like you talked to me on the phone and put me on the air. But I have to go. I have to go now because I have to go chase white women. It's a Friday night.
He's crazy.
He is crazy.
Like that. Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit more polite and just say thank you for having me on the show. And call me anytime, and he'll do this again.
Thank you, Rhonda. You guys have been terrific, both of you. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Oh, guys, what a way to end this year. What a way to put everything in perspective. Well, this has been a very awesome special report, the other morning show. I'm TruePowerIsMine. Thank you all. This has been an awesome, awesome show. Please check out Rhonda Harper at Black Girl Surf, and also check out Michael Parlor at Mark from Anaheim, Political Sarcasm 101 on Facebook. And as always, let's be kinder to each other, and let's try to live our lives with integrity, without hate, envy, or greed. Talk to y'all later.